Today is Rosh Chodesh Kislev, the big Yom Tiv. Besides it being Rosh Chodesh, it's a Yom Tiv. We know that in Kislev, in general, it's filled with Chassidic holidays. First, Chanukah. Chanukah itself is a Chassidic holiday. Why is Chanukah a Chassidic holiday? Because the whole energy of Chanukah is light. And we don't focus on darkness, we focus on light. And the way we focus on light, we realize that there is darkness, but the way we realize the darkness is not by yelling at the darkness, but by increasing the light. And that is the Chassidic approach. And we know that I was just thinking that in Chanukah in general, there is two approaches, Hillel and Shammai, and how you light the menorah. So according to Shammai, you start with 8, and then you decrease and decrease every day, less and less and less. And the reason why you start with 8 lamps, and the second night 7. And Hillel says the opposite. You start the first day with 1, then you... So the reason for Shammai, at least the deeper reason, is because the first day you have a lot of darkness. So you need to fight it with tremendous amount of light. Now the second night you have less darkness because you beat a lot of the darkness, so you can lessen the light. And the third day you have less dark, until the last day you hardly have any darkness, so 1 light is enough. So Hillel, however, says, the first day you start with a little bit of light, second day you increase the light, more light and more light and more light. So Shammai, even though Shammai is also lighting lights, but the way he's dealing with the light is he's measuring the darkness the whole time. Everything is the darkness. Hillel is into light. And therefore, let's make more light and more light and more light. And we don't even know what's going to happen with the darkness. Guess what? We find out one day, we get a letter in the mail that there is no darkness anymore. But we're occupied with light. And that's the Chassidic way. Not the Musar focuses on darkness and fighting darkness. Chassidus always, when it comes to, let's say, for instance, looking at other Jews, Chassidus always says, find what you can love about him. See what's good about the other Jews. That's the Baal Shem Tov's way. Then we know we have Yutes Kislev, the 19th of Kislev, which is we have the story of Yutes Kislev, the 19th of Kislev, well, the Yom Tov, which is the liberation of the Alter Rebbe. And then we have Yud Kislev, which is the liberation of the Mittler Rebbe. Both of them were liberated in the spreading of Chassidus, in the war that was fought against them to stop them. But what's very, very important is that we have Rosh Chodesh. We know Rosh Chodesh contains the whole month. So till recently, Rosh Chodesh Kislev was a regular day. It was Rosh Chodesh. It was a holy day because it was Rosh Chodesh, but nothing significant. In 1977, Rosh Chodesh Kislev became a very, very big Yom Tiv, in that this was the day that the Lubavitcher Rebbe came back after his heart attack, and there was a serious, serious threat on his life. And it happened on Simchas Torah, and then finally on Rosh Chodesh Kislev, the Rebbe came back full swing on Rosh Chodesh Kislev. And that, of course, enabled this tremendous, tremendous increase and by leaps and bounds and everything that happened from the spreading of Chassidus and the spreading of Yiddishkeit across the world that continues to today. So that's the Yom Tov Rosh Chodesh Kislev. It's a big Yom Tov, but at the same time, when we commemorate the Yom Tov of the Rebbe's return after his absence, there is a certain, it's a little bittersweet. Why is it bittersweet? Because we find ourselves now, and again in the absence. We find ourselves in the absence. Because now, the world can't be without the tzaddik. And since Gimel Tammuz, there are fine Jews and there are great rabbis, but the idea of a world leader and the tzaddik that takes the whole world on his shoulders doesn't exist. And everybody knows that. It just doesn't exist. The Rebbe, it existed in the Rebbe, and it just doesn't exist. So that's absent. So I chose to learn this Maayon because this Maayon over here deals with the absence of Malchus, absence of kingship. And what's the deeper meaning? And as I'm learning it, truth is I didn't give it enough learning. I learned it very briefly. But still, what had occurred to me is that the Maayon over here first of all, let's say which Maayon this was. This Maayon was said in 1984. In 1984, this discourse was said, but it was the Rebbe took this Maayon and edited it and gave it out in 1991, just a little bit before the Rebbe's stroke in Chodesh Kislev. So this is one of the last Maayorim the Rebbe gave out before the Chanukah Yutes Kislev Maayon, which we learned in the past years. And what's really, really amazing is all the Maayorim the Rebbe gave out that year are all prophetic. They're literally prophetic. If you look deeper into them, these Maayorim give the koyach and the strength and the ability for us to appreciate and understand what we're going through in this short period of time, hopefully already going to be over, this Rosh Chodesh Kislev, this short period of time of this absence, that we shouldn't get chas v'shalom lost in the absence. We should realize the depth of what's going on. So I think this Maayon, when I read it, I said, wow, it's explaining something really, really, really powerful. And what the Maayon seems to be saying is, the Maayon deals with, first of all, it deals with the Parsha. Later it's going to deal with the Parsha, because it was said during Parsha's Toldos. Deals with the Parsha, but its opening is not on the Parsha. Its opening is on the theme of Rosh Chodesh. The theme of Rosh Chodesh is the Yom Tov of the woman. It's the Yom Tov of the woman coming back after her fall. Last week we spoke about Chava's fall. We spoke a lot about it. Well, that translates all into this fluctuation of the Shekhinah and consequently the world, the Jewish people, the fall of the king of the kingship of David, of Dovid HaMelech's Malchus Beis Dovid. It's all related to the fall of the woman because Malchus is feminine. And it goes up and down. And Rosh Chodesh represents the rebirth, the coming back. And it represents the rebirth of Mashiach, and the coming back. And the whole idea of Rosh Chodesh is that the power of the rebirth happens after an absence. There is an absence. What's interesting, what I see in this Maayon, is that the Rebbe is explaining two levels. This is really stunning. He's explaining two levels in the content of the absence of Malchus. One level is that as a result of Malchus being absent, she receives a higher light, a much higher light. In other words, if Malchus would never disappear and would always be present and fully there, then even though it would be receiving a flow of light and energy from the sun, like the moon receiving from the sun, its energy, its flow, the Jewish people would be receiving a constant flow of godly energy without a stop, it kind of would remain within a certain limited state. The fact that Malchus kind of disintegrates, falls apart, has a presence of what we call a falling or a state of darkness that happens in the moon, that enables a infinitely higher light to come into Malchus from the Mashpia. And that's the new birth. And the Rebbe says that's the first level. But then there's a much deeper level. That when Malchus disappears, when Malchus completely dissolves and we don't see it, and it goes into oblivion, it eventually, as a result of that bittul and that nullification, comes to its deepest self-actualization. And what happens is, then we rediscover Malchus, but not that Malchus is now receiving a greater light from her husband, but that the woman herself has her own light. And not only does she have her own light, but that she's rooted in the essence deeper than her husband, the one that's mashpia. The makabel, the recipient, Malchus, the world, the Jewish people, were rooted in God even deeper than the level of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, as we're going to see in the Maayon. And then the moon doesn't need to receive the light of the sun. It's not just a reflector, but she has her own light, as we're going to see in the Maayon. So, and that happens after the absence. So the Rebbe is explaining there's two levels in that absence. There's a level of the absence where the absence is serving to prepare her for a much greater revelation, but still, she still remains a recipient. The second level is where she stops being a recipient because the absence prepares her to suddenly discover who she really is, that she never knew, which is much higher than her provider. And she doesn't need a provider because she's self-sufficient on her own. And to me it occurred, when I'm learning this today, we celebrated Rosh Chodesh Kislev with the return of the Rebbe only on the first level. We had the Rebbe with us for so many years. He had a heart attack. The Rebbe never took a break. Never went on vacation. Never, not even one day. Never. Like, we don't even find that by all the Chabad Rabbeim that were devoted and dedicated leaders. Don't find that a person needs a recharge. It's impossible. You need it. You just need a recharge. The Rebbe never took a vacation. Never. And one time he came out, they brought him new chairs. Famous story. The Rebbetzin got new like a little bit lounge chairs. She had like on a porch or sitting. So the Rebbe came home and saw the lounge chairs. The Rebbe sat down with his wife, the Rebbetzin, and the Rebbe, if you see in the Fabring, is always sits like this, always like this, never like this. And the Rebbe's always like this. Yeah, the Rebbe went, sat down, and sat back, sat for 2 minutes with the Rebbetzin, and he says, so now we fulfilled already the minhag of my fathers and of the Rabbeim to go on vacation. We fulfilled it, and now it's done. So in his life, he did 2 minutes vacation. Understand? Just to fulfill because you're supposed to do it. So we had the moon with us all the time. The Rebbe is the seventh of all the Rabbeim, the seven. He's Malchus. So then, but the only time there was an absence was from Simchas Torah until Rosh Chodesh Kislev. The month of Cheshvan was an absence. And from Cheshvan, this was the time. Rosh Chodesh Kislev, he came back. And it was a big Yom Tov. Unbelievable. So now, let's think about it. The first absence that we had then, when the Rebbe came back, what's the inyan of that absence? Is that he was absent so he can now receive a higher light from the previous Rebbe. If you take a look at the Rebbe in his Nesias, in his leadership, he blames everything on his father-in-law. He doesn't take any credit, nothing. Even when you give him ask for a bracha, the Rebbe never said, I'm giving you a blessing. The Rebbe was always, I'm going to take it to my father-in-law. Because that's the moon. The moon doesn't have anything of its own. It goes to the sun. The sixth Chabad Rebbe, he's Yesoid. His name is Yosef. Yosef is Yesoid. So he's Yosef. He's giving. So when the Rebbe came back after his stroke, he was far more invigorated, with far deeper power and strength than before, but it still was the strength of the previous Rebbe. He was still reflecting. Now we ended up in an absence. In a sense, a much bigger absence, because it wasn't just a heart attack. We ended up with a stroke, and then another stroke, and then Chas v'Shalom, we had Gimel Tammuz, whatever that is. To the point that the light of the Shekhinah in the world went dark. The light of Malchus in the world went dark. But the Rebbe is revealing in this mimer, which he gives out just 2 months before his stroke, that the real deeper aliyah of Malchus is something even higher. Where Malchus, the bittul of Malchus, the nullification of Malchus, the nullification of the moon is not so that she can be a vessel for a higher light, but that she can discover her own light. That takes a much greater concealment. And that's why the Yom Tov of Rosh Chodesh Kislev, we haven't even seen its Yom Tov yet. Whatever we've celebrated till now is a preparation for stage number 2 of the Yom Tov of Rosh Chodesh Kislev, which is the rebirth of the moon, but in a way where the moon is no more even reflecting the sun, but the moon is restored to the way it was before Hashem ever made her small. She has all the light of the sun, and even bigger than the sun. So that's the content of this Maimar. It's unbelievable. So it's just for the fact that we learn it tonight on this auspicious day, because tonight is Rosh Chodesh Kislev, and so we learn the dynamics of the sun and the moon, of HaKadosh Baruch Hu and the Shekhinah, and the rebirth of the Shekhinah, and the rebirth of Malchus, and the power of Malchus Beis Dovid, which is the whole inyan of the moon, Malchus Beis Dovid, on the deepest of levels. And it's so amazing how this was the mimer the Rebbe gave out a few months before. In other words, so what I see over here, as I learned it, 2 levels in Rosh Chodesh Kislev, 2 levels in the return of Malchus after its absence. Okay, so here we go, ready to start. So we all know that when Shabbos comes out on Erev Rosh Chodesh, we know that when Shabbos comes out on Erev Rosh Chodesh, that means Shabbos is the day before Rosh Chodesh. We say a special haftorah, and it's called Machor Chodesh. Tomorrow is Rosh Chodesh. Like right now. Right now, tomorrow is Rosh Chodesh. So it's a perfect time to learn this. Today is Rosh Chodesh already, but tomorrow is also Rosh Chodesh. So tomorrow is Rosh Chodesh. Which haftorah is this? This is when Dovid HaMelech, when Shaul, Dovid HaMelech's father-in-law, wanted to kill him. So in the beginning, it says over there that Yonason, Shaul HaMelech's son, was very good friends with Dovid. Even though Yonason knew that he's not going to be king. That Dovid, who's the son-in-law, is going to be the king, not the son. Yet, he loved Dovid, and he tells him like this, you want to check my father's mood out. Let's see what's happening over here. He says, tomorrow is Rosh Chodesh. Yonason says to Dovid, Vayomer lo Yonason. Yonason says to Dovid, Machor Chodesh, tomorrow is Rosh Chodesh. My father is going to make a Sudas Rosh Chodesh. Shaul HaMelech, in the palace. You're invited, like the family member, but you're not going to come. Because you're not there, your seat is going to be vacant. And because your seat is going to be vacant, my father is going to ask about you. Where is he? And based on that, we'll get to see what his attitude is. If you're in danger or not. If you come, we don't know what's in store. But if you're not going to be there, he's going to ask. And then he made a simon with Dovid HaMelech, how he can relate to Dovid if he has to escape. And later what happened is Shaul gets angry and he wants to kill him, and no. Fine. The reason we read it Erev Rosh Chodesh, simply, is because the pasuk says, Vayomer lo Yonason, Yonason says to Dovid, Machor Chodesh, tomorrow will be Rosh Chodesh. So this is a haftorah that deals with a story that happened on Erev Rosh Chodesh, on the day before Rosh Chodesh. That's why we read Vayomer lo Yonason, Machor Chodesh. And it's so important that we push away the regular haftorah, even though it's not a Yom Tov, it's Erev Rosh Chodesh. We push away the regular haftorah when we read this haftorah. It's a little strange because why is this so significant that we push away Mela if you have a Yom Tov? It's Erev Rosh Chodesh. So the answer is that Erev Rosh Chodesh is the biggest Yom Tov. Because when the moon disappears is the deepest time. That's the time that we're living in right now, when the moon is not in the sky. It's the deepest time. I don't mean today. I mean the last 20-something years. It's deep, it's dark, it's a concealment. It's the last darkness right before Mashiach comes. It's the concealment. It's the Vayomer lo Yonason Machor Chodesh. Oh, but let's understand. So what happens is, Erev Rosh Chodesh, Dovid HaMelech, he's the moon, because he's the attribute of Malchus. So Yonason says to Dovid, tomorrow is Rosh Chodesh, and what does the moon do a day before Rosh Chodesh? What does the moon do? It disappears. So therefore Yonason says to Dovid, that's what you need to do. You need to disappear from Shaul's table. You should not be there. You understand? By Yonason telling Dovid that you shouldn't be there, that's what's supposed to happen on Erev Rosh Chodesh. Erev Rosh Chodesh is the moon is not there. So therefore he says to Dovid, who you represent the moon, you're the Shekhinah, you're Malchus, your seat should be empty. No one knows where you are. But, he says, that vacancy and that emptiness should never be, when you're not a Chabadnik, you don't learn Chassidus, you get annoyed at Lubavitchers, at Chassidim. People get annoyed at Lubavitchers. Say you're totally nuts. Leave, go already. The Rebbe's not here already so many years. Go find yourself another leader. Same thing like the non-Jews said to the Jews through the exile. God dropped you. Finish. Fatik. Over. Go find yourself someone else. God doesn't love you anymore. You have to understand something. Kedusha, holiness. It's good knowing we have a small crowd today, so I'm in a Fabrengen state. Kedusha is like an onion. There's layers and layers and layers and layers. The inner layers but each layer is deeper and holier, godlier, deeper connected, but they reflect. They're all the same. It's just outer and inner, outer and inner. So just like what you see in the outer, you see in the inner. So there's the Jewish people. Amongst the Jewish people, there are those that are connected to Torah and mitzvahs. All Jews are connected, but those who observe Torah and mitzvahs, makes them more connected in the inner light. And in Torah and mitzvahs itself, those that are connected to the inner light of the Torah, Pnimiyut Torah. And in the inner light of the Torah, Chassidus is the inner of the inner. So it goes deeper and deeper and deeper. So just like you find that the Gentile world chastises the Jewish world, God dropped you. The Christians say that. God dropped the Jewish people. So there you go. Just, if God dropped you, you'll take a look and you'll see, sometimes you'll look at the anti-Semites write on the comments. I find them sometimes online. And I read the comments and people write, to call themselves the chosen people, God had forsaken them a long time. They didn't listen to the prophets or whatever. They're no more the chosen, God. Chas v'shalom. So just like it is said about the Jewish people, within the Jewish people, so people, the more you're connected to the inner light, and those that are connected to the inner tzaddik, to the deepest point, tzaddik yesod olam, and ultimately, especially Malchus Beis Dovid, the chain of Davidic kingdom in the world. So those that are connected, they're very bothered. You meet anybody outside people when they want to. People always say, "Hey, the Rebbe's alive! The Rebbe's alive!" They think they're so smart. The Rebbe's alive! It comes from density. It comes from coarseness. It comes from a lack of appreciation of anything holy and godly. It comes from thickness, density. I'm not saying bad, dense. When dense means you can't sense an edel or inyan. When life means I have to see it physically like this, when you don't appreciate that there's edel or life. And by Chassidim, the Rebbe is very, very much alive and active and here and present and something that you can sense every day in your life. There's no absence. But even though there is no absence, there is absence. But the absence itself is only there because it's meant to bring for a much greater presence. So there has to be an absence. So therefore, again, Yonason says to Dovid, what does he say to him? Yonason says to Dovid, Machor Chodesh, tomorrow is a Chodesh. V'nefkadata, your seat is going to be empty. But what does he say to him? V'nefkadata, you're going to be spoken about because your seat is going to be empty. What does that mean? That precisely the emptiness will bring that Shaul will speak about you. If you would have come to the meal, if David HaMelech would come to the meal, then Shaul maybe might not notice him. There's all kinds of other important dignitaries by the table. David, that's his place. Who says Shaul would even pay attention to him? But since all the seats on the royal table are going to be occupied, and one seat is going to be empty, we're going to discuss, where is he? So the very, very lack of him is going to bring that he's going to be mentioned. So what does it mean spiritually? What it means spiritually is, the deeper spiritual meaning of this whole thing is the very absence of the Shekhinah, the very absence of Malchus on Erev Rosh Chodesh, or let's put it this way, the time right before Mashiach comes, the time that we're in night, Mashiach's light is suddenly absent in the world, we don't see it. We don't see it. We have to realize that that absence is actually causing a much greater remembrance. It has to be true in each and every one of us that we're more devoted, more dedicated, more conscious of the tzaddik and what he wants and what he interests him, number one. But even more than that, it's bringing the revelations of Mashiach that come dafka as a result of the absence. So now let's read inside as we start. And let's see. Vayomer lo Yonason Machor Chodesh. Yonason says to Dovid, tomorrow is Chodesh. Tomorrow is the new moon, is the new month. V'nifkadeta, and you're going to be remembered, ki yepakid mashavecha, because your seat is going to be vacant. Because your seat is going to be empty, that's why, again, remember the simple story. The simple story is that Dovid HaMelech is not showing up to the party of Rosh Chodesh, and because of that, he's going to be remembered. The Tzemach Tzedek in this mimer. In his mimer, the Tzemach Tzedek has a mimer on this pasuk, and the Tzemach Tzedek explains it as follows: David hu b'chinas malchus. If I need a sign, if this was the mimer we need to be learning tonight, so I got the sign. Sometimes it helps a sign. I was struggling, should I teach this? Because I was I was very tired and I didn't get a chance. And then I happened to take out this mimer, and I remember, I thought, let's learn it. I learned it, and then I was thinking, okay, maybe I should stick something more on the parsha. Yeah, no. So then, when you came in before, I was standing over there, and I was looking into a volume of the Rebbe's letters. I had just opened it up, and I was wondering, why am I getting this? It was all about the shul in the old city, the Tzemach Tzedek shul. And the Rebbe was talking about it was after the 6-Day War that now we recapture the Tzemach Tzedek shul. And the Rebbe is over there saying that we should, that very special, that shul should be a shul where all the prayers should go up through. It's in Yerushalayim and so on and so forth. And until the time, the Rebbe says that two things are going to be built in Yerushalayim. He concludes the letter. Two things are going to be built in Yerushalayim. God's palace and Mashiach's palace. Two palaces. The Beis HaMikdash and Mashiach's palace. But the Rebbe says over there, you should be Isaac, and what should they do in that shul? And I opened one letter, and then I took the book and I gave another mush like this, a whole bunch of pages, and I got to the second letter. It was also a second time regarding the first letter about the Tzemach Tzedek shul. And how come they're not doing what he said in the first letter? Over there, he's suggesting the people in the shul should study the teachings of the Tzemach Tzedek. Now, when I'm reading it, I'm trying to think, like, why did I get this letter now? And I felt there was some hashgacha, because it's why. And I didn't realize when I learned the Maayon the first time that the Rebbe is basing his explanation on the teaching of the Tzemach Tzedek. So I'm learning over there, and it's saying you should study the... So there's no randomness, everything is... So Mavara Tzemach Tzedek b'Ramaschal d'Ramaschal zeh. The Tzemach Tzedek explains in his Maayon. David hu b'chinas malchus. Yonason is talking to Dovid. Who's Dovid? Dovid personifies Malchus, because he's the ultimate king of the Jewish people. So he's the concept of Malchus, which we know when we say Malchus, it means really all of us. HaKoleles is kol nishmas Yisroel. Malchus includes all the neshamas inside of it. Malchus is the Shekhinah. Shekhinah is the mother of all souls. That's why, who's the one who when any soul wants to connect to God and speak to God, any neshama, any soul wants to speak to Hashem, what do you use to speak to God? What form of communication? We say Tehillim. We say Psalms. Our prayers are made up of Psalms. Tehillim, the words of Dovid HaMelech. So why do we have to quote Dovid HaMelech? Why can't we say our own words? Why are we quoting what King David says? And the answer is, King David and you are one, because he's the mother of all souls. All of our souls are included in Dovid HaMelech's neshama. In his book of Tehillim, it has every feeling of every neshama, of every soul for all time. in every situation that any soul is going to be, crying out to God from its darkness and from its pain. Each individual pain and each individual unique expression calling out to God is in the book of Tehillim, because David HaMelech, he includes all neshamas. And then, of course, Mashiach Tzidkenu includes all the souls of the Jewish people. Malchus based up. So HaKolela says, Kol Nishmas Yisroel. It includes all the neshamas. Why? And we say, because the Chol Yisroel b'nei Malachim heim. Even this is what I said, that all neshamas are limbs of the Shekhinah. That's more mystical. But even on a simple level, Gemara says that all souls, all Jews, are princes. They're sons of the king. That means we're all royal. We're all connected to the attribute of Malchus. So what happens? So so now we're going to focus on these words. It says you're going to be remembered It says, you're going to be remembered because your seat will be vacant. You're going to be remembered because your seat will be vacant. Remember, because David HaMelech is not going to show up to the party, remember what's going on? Because David is not going to show up to the party, to the meal, to the Rosh Chodesh meal, Shaul is going to ask about him. King Saul is going to say, where is he? You're going to be remembered. Okay. So what does it mean? Because your seat is going to be vacant and is going to be lacking, you're not going to be there. So spiritually, what does it mean? Spiritually, it means by not coming, that means, what does not coming mean? Not coming to the party meaning not presenting yourself. Everybody's coming to present themselves. You're not going to present yourself. So what does that mean? That's bittul. What does bittul mean? Bittul means self-abnegation, taking yourself out, removing of self, nullification of self. Like the moon. What does the moon do? Erev Rosh Chodesh. The last 15 days, the moon continues to nullify itself until she's not in the sky. At least to our vision, it's not there. So to us and to it's as if the moon doesn't exist. The moon is humble. It reaches extreme humility. Non-presence. So what do we say? When you will reach the peak of your non-present, when you will reach the peak of bittul, of not being, bittul, which is that nullification, then you're going to be remembered. In other words, what does remember mean? That whoever has the power to remember you, and as a result of that give you life. So what he's learning over here is the vacancy of the seat is the bittul of Malchus, of the Shekhinah. When the Shekhinah has total bittul, it's exactly then when her husband, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the son, is now remembers her to give her new light. Dafka because of her nullification. Al yedei zeh yev nifkadato. Through this there will be yev nifkadato, you will be remembered. Hamshachas hazikaroi. There will be a drawing forth of the remembrance lamayla above. The zikaroi now. When we say remembrance, we're going to soon see the fact that it says not just that you're going to be, it doesn't say that you're going to be asked about. It says you're going to be remembered because you're going to be vacant. Memory is a very, very high place, as we're going to see soon. It's a very high level. So in order to get to this level called being remembered, in order to get to that exalted high level of being remembered, the only way you can get to that is not through making more of yourself, being more perfect, or being more noticeable, being more recognized, more attractive, by being less to the point of non-being. That's going to bring forth the memory. Okay, Kedelekamon, like we will see soon. So this is the connection of v'nifkadeto, you'll be remembered because your seat will be vacant, with tomorrow being Chodesh. Keep erev Rosh Chodesh, because on the day before Rosh Chodesh, who helam v'hester alavana, is the concealment of the moon. V'atsha berega shalifnei hamoiled, and the moon gets so concealed that a moment before the birth of the moon, there is a time that there is no moon in the sky, at least to our vision. Loi nisha memeno gam nakuda, even a point is not left over. It's not like it dwindles down to a tiny little sliver. It reaches a point that even the sliver doesn't exist. But what happens right after that? Boom, it comes back. Machor Chodesh. Tomorrow, what's going to be? Chodesh. What does Chodesh mean? Chodesh means new, a renewal of the moon. It comes back. Moilad alavana machadash, the moon comes back again. And what does it mean? When the moon comes back again, what does it mean? It means that the light of the sun is shining on the moon and being reflected to earth. That means, spiritually it means, that the moon has now received a new light that it didn't have. Bless you. The moon now got new light that it never had before. A deeper light that it didn't have before. There is a new light that is being drawn from the sun to the moon, that was not shining in the moon before. The same as to the Jewish people, the Jewish people that are compared to the moon, through their nullification, through and each and every one of us, through our self-abnegation, when we surrender ourselves to Hashem more and more and more, so especially when we reach the epitome and the peak of surrender completely, nullification of self, what does that do? It brings, we should be remembered. And what is the remembering? The sun starts shining upon us, and you're a new person and a new light. Nimshich behem or naila beyoser, it brings upon you a much higher light, or chadash, a new light. V'yesh loima, we can say, the zeh sham shachas or chadash nikra v'nifkadeto. Now, in this piece, he's going to explain, that's what it says in the Tzemach Tzedek's discourse. Now the Rebbe is going to explain. The fact that it's called v'nifkadeta, you're going to be remembered, which is zikaron, why is it called zikaron? Remember, say you're going to be spoken about. Why is it called after you're remembered? Ki hamshachas ha'or hashayach la'olamos. Because this is trying to tell you the quality of the new light that is coming. Where is it coming from? Malchus, the Shekhinah, Malchus, the moon, is the source of the creation. And the Malchus, the Shekhinah, is feminine. She doesn't have anything of her own. She receives she's like speech. Speech doesn't have anything of its own. You need to put content into a person to have speech. Speech is only meaningful if there's a flow of masculine content going into it. Or else it's just words. Speech is communication. It's a vehicle. You need to put into it content. Fine. So the world's Malchus, the Shekhinah, receives godly input, light. Now, here's the idea. There's various different levels of light. There is various different levels of light. There is light that Hashem is giving to the world from it's called Oyer Hashayach La'olamos. It's a light that has a relationship to the world. That means even though it's a light coming from God, it's already God's minuscule light. That's what I discussed in Monday Shir. Remember I was saying on Monday Shir that when the Ze'er Anpin is giving to Malchus, it can give Katnos Amoich, and it can give from a place where God is being very small, or it can give it. Hashem can be giving light to the Shekhinah from a place where God is far more expansive. Remember, this is what we spoke on Monday, and that we want that Hashem should shine light from a place of expansiveness. That was the whole idea that what we discussed on Monday class. So you see that when Hashem is the sun, and the sun is giving light to the moon, the sun can be smaller and closer to the moon. That's one level of light, and the sun can be greater, farther away, but that means it's a higher light, and the sun can be even farther and even bigger and even a higher light. So what we're saying is that the new light that Malchus receives, the Shekhinah, the moon receives a new light after her absence, is coming from such a high place that it's a light that doesn't have any whatsoever connection or a relationship to the world. It's so high. It's like above and beyond what the world ever deserves. It's beyond. It's infinitely higher than creation. And that's why it's called remembrance. Why? He's going to explain over here in a moment. When do you say that you need to remember somebody? When do you feel you have to tell somebody, but remember, what do you have to tell someone? When whatever it is, that thing is not, it's forgettable. If it's forgettable, you have to tell them to remember. What makes something forgettable? The smaller something is, the more insignificant something is, the more forgettable it is. When something is very, very essential, you don't forget it. But you forget is something that is not so important. You can forget it. So I have to tell you, don't forget, remember. On Rosh Hashanah, we know we keep on asking God, remember us, remember the world. So what do we have to do? Does God forget? God can't forget. The idea is we're trying to communicate the idea that all of creation, all of existence, all of creation, the cosmos, everything, spiritual world, the whole project is so insignificant to God, who is that it is the worlds in essence are something that is forgettable. It's like a tiny blip, not even a blip, a tiny little crumb in an infinite expanse. So it's possible to forget it. So you have to say, don't forget. So what is that showing? When we're talking about remembrance, we're talking about a place where there is a tremendous gap or a distance between that which is being remembered and the one who is remembering, and that's why you need to say, remember. Therefore, we say like this. On the levels where God already has contracted himself, we know that Hashem, in his relationship to the world, descends many, many levels. He contracts his light less and less. So there are lower levels where Hashem has already kind of reduced himself and his energy and his life force to be compatible to the creation. On those levels, the creation is very important. If the creation is very important, on that level you can't say remember. Why? Of course, the creation is big, is important. So when are we saying remember? We're saying remember on the level of God, where God is so infinite, so beyond, so transcendent, and on that level the creation is so insignificant, and yet we're saying remember. So the idea of remembrance means a flow of energy, a light, a transmission from such a high place where the worlds are meaningless. That means that the light that's coming down is a light above and beyond any kind of relationship to the world, even a relationship that would give the world some kind of significance. And that's the power of remembrance. When we say, let's say for instance, when we said today, Ya'aleh v'yavo, we say, please remember, Ya'aleh v'yavo v'yagia v'yera v'yezacher, let it be remembered. What we're asking for is, we're asking that God should remember us from a place so high that he needs remembrance to remember us. Because we want a very big light. We don't want a small light. See, the closer, that's the chidush of every Rosh Chodesh. The reason why the moon needs to nullify herself is like this. If the moon wants to receive normal godly flow, if the world, the moon again is a metaphor for creation. Moon, Malchus, it's all one Inyan. If the world is to receive a ordinary flow of godly energy into creation, then the moon doesn't have to disappear. That, by her being herself, she draws God's attention, that God should continuously sustain her and give her. But we don't just want to be sustained. We want that God himself to be drawn into the creation. From where? From a level where God is so high, from there we want him to come down. For that, we can't evoke that through being more attractive, being more beautiful, being more significant. Because on that level, everything is insignificant. The only way to attract, and to stimulate a light from a place so high and so distant and so removed does not come by us being more, it comes by us being not. It's by the moon completely disappearing from the sky. It comes from all of us nullifying our egos to the point that we literally, to the point of non-existent. Then is when we receive this remembrance. See the connection? That remembrance comes from dafka when you're not going to be. So that's what, and this is all hinted to in that little conversation. Yonason says to King David, says to Dovid HaMelech. Dovid HaMelech is Malchus. So Yonason says to Dovid HaMelech, I want you to receive a whole new light, a whole new level of godly light in you, from a much higher place. But in order to do that, you have to be absent. By you being absent, then you're going to be remembered. That's the idea. So let's read it inside. Just to bring down ordinary light that has some kind of a connection to the worlds. Even a light that's above the worlds. In the light that is connected to the world, there's two levels. There is the energy of creation that is part of the creation. Generally, we refer to it as the indwelling light of God, the Or HaMamali, the indwelling light of God, the light of Hashem that's the source of time and space. Then we say there is an encompassing light of God. It's bigger than the world. It surrounds all of creation equally. So it's higher than the worlds, higher than even being than being a source for creation. But still, it's considered relatable to the creation. It's above the creation, but it's relatable to the creation. The very notion that we say it surrounds the creation is already showing that there is a connection. We're not talking about that. We're talking about even higher than that. Something that doesn't have any relationship whatsoever from the creation, to the creation at all. It's so exalted, it's so high, it's so removed. And that light is what we want. That's where memory comes. That's called remembrance. She says, that's not called a real chidush. Machor Chodesh, what does Machor Chodesh mean? In addition to tomorrow being Rosh Chodesh, it means tomorrow there's going to be something new. Now, new, what does new mean? You know? So if I get a new pair of socks, it's new, I get a new pair of socks. Yeah, but how different are my socks of yesterday, the new pair of socks, to what I had before? Not socks. How it's new, but yeah. We're talking about new, talking about something completely new. So to have a real newness in the world, and this is a theme, it's a very important theme. In our lives, we constantly need to grow, to higher, to higher, to higher. And there's a certain growth that comes by building on who you were yesterday. And then you build more, and you accomplish more, and you expand more in knowledge, more in goodness, more in kindness, more in quality of person, a quality of life, whatever it is. You're growing based on who you were yesterday. That kind of a growth, however, is only limited. It's not new. If you want something new, the way to get to something new requires a certain dismantling of what was. And then you can get something new. I'll tell you a little story which illustrates this in a silly way, but but this really does say this. The Baal Shem Tov was known to go on travels with his students sometimes. He would just spontaneously take his students on a ride and go somewhere. And one time the Baal Shem Tov traveled to a town, and he came to a Jew. The guy was very poor. The Baal Shem Tov came in with all of his students. guy, he knows the Baal Shem Tov, big rabbi, big tzaddik, with his students. So the guy goes and he empties his refrigerator. Literally, he empties his refrigerator. Puts out whatever he finds, a little leftover lox, a little leftover this, a little bit of herring, a little bit of crusty old bread. He puts it all out, but he's embarrassed because he doesn't have enough food. And they're eating. They eat. And he had quite a bit of food. He gave them everything that he had in his house. He fed them. Very good. And the Baal Shem Tov turns to the Baal Shem Tov and says, but we're still hungry. So the poor guy starts scraping, taking out, he had a little bit stashed away cracker somewhere or whatever, just in case for an earthquake or something. So he takes out, he opens up those cans, his reservoir, and he puts it out, and the Baal Shem Tov is eating, and he kind of is encouraging his students to eat, and they polish it all off. And then the Baal Shem Tov says, but I'm hungry. We're still hungry. So the guy has no choice. He feels terrible. He goes outside, he has a cow, and he slaughters the cow. He was a ritual slain up here, he was a shaychet, he slaughters the cow. And he cuts a nice big chunk of meat, fires up the grill, and he makes a barbecue. Comes back in, and he serves them meat. And this guy's entire livelihood was from that one cow. He had his wife would milk the cow, she would sell the milk, and now he just took him away the cow. So he was happy, he did it because the Baal Shem Tov, he did it because, he served the Baal Shem Tov, but on the one hand, he just ruined his whole livelihood. And after the Baal Shem Tov and their students were done, they left. Baal Shem Tov gave him a blessing and they left. The students were beside themselves. They were so upset. Like, why would their master, they know he's a tzaddik, so they know there's no questions, but they were upset because this guy was so kind to them, and now the Baal Shem Tov had to ruin and take away his one possession that he had. The Baal Shem Tov read their thoughts, their minds. I don't think they asked him. And the Baal Shem Tov explained. The Baal Shem Tov said, this guy, because of something that he did or whatever it was given a blessing in heaven that he's supposed to get tremendously rich. But in order for him to become rich, he needed to pray. He had to daven. If he would daven and say, he had it in his spiritual account, but in order to bring it down, he had to pray to channel it down. Problem is, whenever he would daven for livelihood, he would constantly, in his prayer, he would in his mind imagine how the blessing is going to come. And he would ask God specifically, not just give me sustenance. He would say, make my cow's milk be really good. It should be good milk. And it was happening. It was very good milk, and he had a lot of customers buying the milk, and he made a decent living. But how much money are you going to make from that cow milk? He was a poor man, amongst the poor people. He did well. The Baal Shem Tov said, and because of that, this guy was never able to get a blessing because he was always davening for his cow to make good milk. The Baal Shem Tov said, I had no choice. I had to get rid of that cow. That's why I came. And we did what we needed to do. That's right. And we got him to slaughter his cow. And now he has no cow. So tomorrow when he's going to daven, he's going to say, God, I have no idea how I'm going to live. Please send me, in your infinite wisdom, in your infinite kindness, give me a new channel of parnasa. Send me the blessing without limiting it to something. And that's what happened. This guy became a multimillionaire. He bought the lottery or whatever. I don't know, whatever happened. Bang! He was like and his life suddenly, he wasn't now, because what needed to happen in this person's life? This person needed to take a quantum leap. And to have a quantum leap, you can't build on who you were yesterday for a quantum leap. That requires a total disintegration of what is to suddenly now be open to something infinitely bigger. And that's the whole idea of Erev Rosh Chodesh. When we say every month, new light, we don't want something that is equivalent to what was before, just a little bit more. We want something off the charts. To get something off the charts doesn't come through beingness and expanding, it comes through bittul. When there is nothing, nullification, then there comes a complete new light. That's the whole theme of vinifkadita. Why are you going to be remembered? Yonason says to Dovid HaMelech, Erev Rosh Chodesh. Dovid HaMelech is the moon. Dovid HaMelech is Malchus. Vinifkadita, why are you going to be remembered? Ki yapaket mashavecha, because your seat is going to be vacant. By you not being there, you're going to have yipaket. And that's a chidush. This is Rosh Chodesh, Machor Chodesh. Tomorrow you're going to receive a whole new chidush, a whole new light. But it requires an absence. Let's see. And what does it mean, a new light? Who oirein soif, the oirein soif, shalamayla mashaychas la'olamos. We're holding by the little 9, which is totally beyond having any connection to the worlds. And that's why it's called, you will be remembered. No, on the first page. And that's the reason why it's called v'nifkadata. As we explained earlier, zikaron, remembrance, is only shayach in the oirein soif that is beyond, that has no relationship with the world. It's totally beyond, and that's what's called, when that comes down into the world, that's called a new light, not based on what you had before. Something totally new. And that means being remembered. Why? Is explained elsewhere. Just like by a person. The idea of remembering something. Only by something that's not important by him. It's easy for him to forget it. One of the things they're talking about the Rebbe so much tonight, one thing about the Rebbe is that he never forgot any Jew. And if you came to him once and you told him a problem, he remembered it always. He has a gazillion people. So how can someone remember so much and not forget? Not because he's such a spectacular memory. That's true also, but that's not why. The reason why you remember is because to him, you're so nagea, you're so important, how can he forget? Like, when something is a person doesn't forget his one and only child. You can't forget that. So if you're saying by the Eibishter that the Eibishter should remember, is a sign that what? That it's insignificant. That must be, we're talking about a level in God which is so high that he's saying it's an oir that's not shayach la'olamos at all. On that level, the worlds are meaningless. Kula kamei kalachshe, they're all nothing. So it's shayach to forget. And from there we're saying, remember, v'nifkadata, remember. That's showing you how high the Hamshach of Rosh Chodesh is. Al derech zehu l'mayla, the inyan hazikaron, the idea of zikaron, remembrance, hu ba'oirein soif shalamayla mashayches lo'olamas, is in the oirein soif that's beyond having a shayches to the worlds, which on that level, kula kamei kalachshe, which on that level everything is not. V'zehu v'nifkadata ki yipoked meshavecha, you will be remembered because your seat will be vacant. The Hamshachas ha'or shalamayla mashayches lo'olamas v'nifkadata, this Hamshacha, this light, that doesn't have any shaykhs to the world. It's totally beyond it. If you want to be mamshech such a high light, it's only through bittul. Your seat is vacant. Hear these words. When a person's avodah is connected to your existence, even if you're okay, it's not like chas v'sholom a person is negative. Even if you're a good person, but you're a metzias to kedusha. You're an entity of holiness. You're somebody. You're an entity of holiness. Since you're being mamshech, since you're drawing down godly light as a result of who you are, you're being attractive. You're drawing down. So then, what kind of light are you drawing down? Then you're drawing down from above also only a light that has a connection to the world. Because that's what you can stimulate by being who you are. Metzias. In order to draw down a light that has no connection at all to the worlds, it is so infinite, so beyond, which to it the worlds are nothing. The kula kamei kalachshev, before God all of it is nothing. That comes through bittul. It's through your seat being vacant. So the Rebbe is saying an interesting idea. Through metzias, when a person is a metzias, in other words, you're building on who you were yesterday and so on, and increasing and so on. Your service is a service of self-development, self-actualization, but it all involves being all you can be in a good way and in a holy way. Then since you're stimulating through who you are, then you can only stimulate in a level where God is also defined by a certain definition, by who the Eibishter is, by a definition. But you can't reach a level where the Eibishter is beyond all definitions. The Eibishter doesn't have any description and no definition. That's what he calls an or that doesn't have any shaykhs to the worlds. It's undefined completely. It's what we call ayin, not yesh. It's ayin, it doesn't have any description. Ayin, nothing is. It's the light that's beyond the sphirot, beyond the attribute. It's infinite, it's Ein Sof. So through being, you can't draw that down. How do you draw that down? Through bittul. Through you being ayin, nothingness, through total nullification and nothingness. But soon he's going to ask the question, by the way, why, if on this level nothing is important, the worlds are not important, so why is it stimulated by you becoming nothing? If this light is so high and so beyond the creation, and that nothing, and that everything means zero, doesn't have any significance to this, so you making yourself nothing is also zero. So why does that stimulate anything? It's okay. So in that nothingness happened. So why should that infinite nothingness above be impressed by this new nothing? It's like it reminds me in a Vardik. There was one of the famous yeshivas for Musar. It was Navardik yeshiva. So in Slabodkea, see, when do I speak about Slabodkea and Navardik? This is a special share tonight. I learned in Slabodkea. These are the Lithuanian yeshivas. So in Slabodkea, they used to learn Musar, and the Musar of Slabodkea was Gadlus Adam. But the emphasis was how great the human being is. And therefore, why would you behave like an animal if you're so dignified? You're so great. In Navardik, they would discuss a lot the lowliness of the person, and that you shouldn't be, how. And they would work on recognizing the nothingness. So they had a special nothing room. What was the nothing room? It was a garnished room. You would go into that room and you would do meditation. After you learned Musar about the lowliness of a person, you would sit and you would say, Ich bin garnished, ich bin garnished. I am a nobody, I'm a nobody. And they would sit for a long time and they would say, I am a nobody, until they would really feel like a nobody. Okay? Go on and on and on. So in that room itself, you had various different rows. You had the front rows were the people who really, really achieved being nobodies already, because they've been doing it already for a very long time. There was right? So one day, a new bacher comes to yeshiva, and he walks into the nobody room, into the garnish room. He sits down in the front row next to the two senior nobodies, and he sits down there and he starts going, Ich bin garnished, ich bin garnished, ich bin garnished. So the guy sitting next to him suddenly can't stand it anymore, and he says, Oh, ich bin garnished. You're also a nothing already? How did you become a nothing so fast? Why am I saying that? Mitzad the Eivish, okay, Chassidim, let's understand something. Chassidim needed something to have a little fun when they had a farbrengen. This is one of the stories. But in any case, what is the dina? What am I saying? Mitzad the Eivish, this transcendental nothingness, he's not defined by anything, you're also a nothing. You're like, well, what's your nothingness? Why should even the nothingness be important? He's going to ask that question later, and that's what he's going to deal. Like, we're saying to get an Or Chodesh, to be mamshich an Or Chodesh, it doesn't work. You can't draw down new light through being more of who you are. For that, you have to, like, as I said earlier, if you want to bring down the ultimate parnasa, just davening more that your cow should get more and more milk, you're still going to be stuck in that little cow. You're not going to get anywhere. Eventually, the Baal Shem Tov had to come and take away the cow, so that the guy's left with nothing, and then he can. So you need to break out, go out of the box, get out of self completely, to get an archad. The question is, why does that work? We understand that everything else doesn't work, but why does that work to get something new? We'll get later. Or beer, but we're gonna get to that in a few minutes. But a beer, goydel eli didn't v'kadeta. So we'll go siv beis. In order to appreciate, understand the greatness of an ifkadata, in order for us to really appreciate how great it is, this new light that comes on Rosh Chodesh, today Rosh Chodesh, this new Or Chodesh that comes on Rosh Chodesh, beprati is yoiser, to understand it a little better. It will be understood based on what it's explained in Likutei Torah. Shebeserusa deli'ela yesh gimel bechinos. We're all familiar with the concept. Isarusa delatata, isarusa deli'ela. Isarusa delatata means an arousal from below. Isarusa deli'ela means an arousal from above. And what it generally means is that when we make an arousal below, means our work below causes God to reciprocate, reciprocation. So it says in Likutei Torah, there's three, we learned that Maayon here, there's three levels in the Isarusa deli'ela, in the arousal from above. Level number one of the arousal from above is when God arouses us before we do anything. It acts as a stimulator, a stimulant. We're asleep, we're wherever, we're just not paying attention, and God knows He's desperately wants us so much to be connected to Him, and we're just playing around, we're just totally out. So the Eibishter gives us a little zinger. Whichever way, God gives a little push the button to get our attention, hopefully with special blessings, whatever it is, to catch us. So then we go, wake up. That's called an Isairus from above. That's one level. The next level of the arousal from above comes from after we do something, we serve God, we give Him satisfaction, we do something special, then He reciprocates to our stimulation, to our work that we do. So He is corresponding. That's what is that? That's another level of a Sarusa Deliela. Again, one came, no charge. We didn't do anything, undeserving. Boom, he initiates. Well, the other one is he's responding to our initiation. And then there's a third level. What's the third level? After we've served and brought down the highest we can reach, everything we can reach, Hashem gives us, and He responds to our work. The Eibishter gives us afterwards a bonus. That's like you see, workers in a company. You can work your way up in the company to higher levels of importance, and as a result of that, higher levels of pay. You're more. The more valuable you are to the company, the more the company will hike your pay, more and more and more. But then there's a certain thing that the company decides to give a bonus to someone. And the idea of it being a bonus means as follows. It's not something you can claim based on your work. That's not a bonus. That's being paid for your work. It's not something that you deserved. But it's not that you earned it. But on the other hand, it's only given to someone who's perfected their work on the highest level, then they're giving this higher bonus. So the same is from above. After we do all the work we can reach, and therefore bring the Eibishter's bracha down to us on the highest peak level, God tops it on the top, gives us the icing on the cake. That's the third level. Okay. So, there is an Isaidus from above that comes on its own. Then the second level, there is an Isarusa D'Liela that is awoken up and stimulated and drawn down through our Isaidus from below. Avoida Sa'adam, our Avoida. V'Sarusa D'Liela, and then there is a third level of Isarusa D'Liela, Haba b'matana mamayla, that comes as a gift from above. Elo shaham shechasahu dafka la'achra shleimas avoida. After we completed our avoda on the highest level possible, God gifts us the third level. Now the Alter Rebbe now goes and he analyzes where these three levels are coming from. Okay, they're not simply, you can say it's one, the Sarusa D'Liela, it's just being directed, and one is stimulating, the other one is responding, and the third one is what the Eibishter is giving a bonus, but it's from the same dimension. No, the Alter Rebbe explains that each one is a different level in elokus, in godliness. So he explains over there, the arousal from above that comes on its own is coming from a high place, the one that comes without our work. It's coming from a high place where we can't reach. That's why God does it on His own. It's from a place that our work cannot stimulate on such a high place. The drawing down of this of this stimulation from above, this is what it means. It's from the Orein Sof, from the infinite light. It's beyond worlds. That's why any creature in the world can't stimulate this. It's too shalagabe, because to this level is serusa de latata ein nechsheves l'meuma, and to this level it's so high. I spoke this week in the shir. If you listen to the shir from Monday night, I had mentioned that there's a person, and we discussed it last week Thursday night as well. We discussed a father, a CEO, in a company who's while he's having a meeting and his children get into a fight about Legos, it's meaningless to him. But if he comes home and he sits down on the floor and he starts to play with them, and he's actually playing Legos with them, then what's happening is meaningful to him, because now he shrunk and made himself small. So when we're saying it's a Rusa de Liela, from a place, the Soidus, where we can't reach, means when God is being his grand big CEO, much, much higher than being the head of the company of the world, but being in his infinite, distant world of divinity, of the divine, of him. So then anything that happens, our work can't stimulate, because what is the whole value? So that's one level. Then, however, on the other hand, the work that the buttons we can push, and as a result of our actions, stimulate what? Certain responses. The idea of what? If you will go in my mitzvahs, I will give you your rain. Tit for tat. When we're doing good, God is responding. It's from a place. It's from a level where our stimulant from above reaches that place. On this place there is a value to the creations. Until it is that Hashem is impressed with our avoda. It's like a father who's impressed with his son's Lego thing. When is the father impressed with his son's little Lego achievement? When the father is small-minded and is in the world of Legos. Or even when he's regular, but when he's withdrawn, then it's meaningless. It evokes and it excites the Yisroel from above. Then the very last Serusa de Le'ela that comes as a gift. It's really being drawn it too, the bonus is coming from a place where our work cannot reach. Ella, but rather. But if so, why isn't it given? Either it should never be given, or it should be given right away. Why is it waiting until after we finish all of our work and then it will come? As a bonus. And the answer to that is, it's not because your work can stimulate it. This is a level that's unstimulatable. The Eibishter is not being impressed by anything we're doing. It's a gift from him. But since it's so big, it can only dwell on a place it's not being stimulated through our work, but it can only dwell in a place that's perfect. Hashem only dwells basar shalim. Since he is perfect, he can only dwell in a place that's perfect. So as long as we haven't yet perfected ourselves, then he can't. The Zohar says, Ein HaKadosh Baruch Hu shoyre elo basar shalim. For example, that's the reason why a person needs to get married. Because only when a husband and wife are married and two of them together, they create asar shalim. Because Adam and Chava are really together one unit. When they're split, they're only half. So they don't have that kind of a blessing in themselves because there's only one. This is just part of that rule. Ein HaKadosh Baruch Hu shoyre. Now, when a husband and wife get together, it's not like they deserve this light. No, the Eibishter gifts them with this light, but he will only dwell where asar shalim, where there is a complete place. Why? Even though this is Serusa D'Li'ela comes as a gift from above, you have to have some kind of a keli to be able to receive it. You need a vessel. The Zohar says that God does not dwell only in a complete place. And therefore, In order that there should be a gilui, a revelation of this is Sarusa D'Liela, haba b'derech matana, that comes in a manner of a bonus or a gift. Tzarech liyos hashleimus d'maisa hatachtonim. We need to provide a certain shleimus of perfection. It's Sarusa D'Letata, and how do we do that? We do our work, and we stimulate as a result of our work godly stimulation. Through both of them together, through our work and Hashem's reciprocation to our work, where He meets us halfway there, and that together we create Asar Shalim, a perfect place. Then Hashem's higher light can come and dwell in that perfect place that was created as a result of the partnership of us and Him together. So the third Isarusa D'Liela is dependent on the second Isarusa D'Liela. When you have the second level of Isarusa D'Liela, arousal from above, which comes as a result of our work from below. And so again, our work below on its own doesn't make us into a perfect being. It's only our work from, no matter how hard we work, it's only after our work and God complements our work together, as a result of our input, Hashem reciprocates. So together we create what? A unit of perfection. In that perfection comes now Hashem down from a much higher place to dwell in that perfection that we really were active in creating. All right? Isarusa D'Liela. Okay, so this is what it says in Likutei Torah. There's 3 levels of Isarusa D'Liela. Now we come to what he's discussing over here called God remembering us. V'nifkadata, remembering. The Rebbe wants to say that the remembrance that we're talking about over here, that Hashem remembers, what does it mean He remembers us? Like in the sun, it means that He sends His light down to us. He sends His bracha down. He remembers us. He sends us His... The Rebbe wants to say that this v'nifkadata is higher than all 3 levels. It's already a 4th dimension. It's higher than all of that. Why? Is even higher. Even the Yisrusa D'Liela that comes after our perfection. Why? He explains very simple. This, that your shleimus, again, the 3rd level of a Sarusa D'Liela, of arousal from above. We said before, we can't stimulate it. No matter what we do, we can't stimulate it. But still, Hashem waits and He doesn't give it to us until we reach and achieve whatever. So I'll give an example to that. Sfira Sa'aymer. We count 49. And we know that when we're not just counting, we're working on our refining ourselves. And every day when we work on refining ourselves, God sends a special godly light down. We open up another one of the 49 gates of holiness, or another one of the 49 gates of Bina, when we count the yearly count. And that light helps, increases our refinement way beyond what we can do on our own. Fine. But those 49 we're able to activate. Then comes Shavuos, we don't count anymore. The 50th we don't count. Because that God gifts us. But when does He gift us the 50th? Only after we've done and drawn down all the levels that we can draw, which is 49. Oh, so the 50th waits. But the mere fact that the 50 waits, till what? Till after we're done with the 49. Because it needs us to be perfect in order. Means that our perfection of 49, which is the most we can perfect, has some significance to that level. If it wouldn't have any significance to that level, what difference does it make if you have the 49 or you don't have the 40? So even though the 50th is beyond, we can't earn it, but the mere fact that it's looking for a place that is perfect, and there's something that can be considered perfection, that's the idea. That's something that could be considered perfection in the eyes of this light, of this place, is a sign that it has some significance. Here we're talking about that. What is the whole idea of remembrance? Remembrance means, why does He have to remember you? Because you're forgettable. Why are you forgettable? Why would we be forgettable? Because we are absolutely nothing. And therefore we're forgetting. And yet he remembers. So it must be that what we're talking about in this Maayon, that on Erev Rosh Chodesh, and on Rosh Chodesh as a result of our nullification, we get a new light, and the new light from a place that's totally beyond. This is even higher than the third level of a Sarusa D'Liela that's discussed in Likutei Torah. That's what he's building. Again, Gildin of Kato who naile yoise gam Sarusa D'Liela shel achrei shleimus avoda. Ki zeh shleimus avoda sa'adam ma'isa tachtonim. This, that the shleimus of our work, which is the work of Tainim, he kamoi keli, it's like a vessel, legilu yasarusa d'liela, to this revelation of this greatest oideros, moira is indicative. Shavoide sa'adam yeshloi eze erech v'shaychos l'sarusa d'liela. It has some kind of a significance, it has some kind of a relationship to the arousal from above. Why? The ba'oirin soif shalamayla meshaychos la'oilamois. Because in the Oirein Soif that is completely removed and is beyond having any shaykhs to the world, which on that level we say, Shekula kamei kalachshiv, all before him is absolutely not. Ein shayach loimar, we can't say, Shahashleimus the maisei hatachtoinim, that the perfection of the work of us, who makam muchsher, that becomes a makam muchsher, an appropriate place. It becomes a Asar Shalim, it's considered a perfect place, lahagilui the Oirein Soif, to the revelation of the Oirein Soif. The Kivan Shekila Kamei Kalachashiv, since before him is nothing, Hare Lagabe Gilui Zeh, in the eyes of this revelation, of this godliness, Ein Za Asar Shalim, what's its perfection? It's nothing. So you made the most beautiful mud castles. So what? It's garnished. The Indian Azikarim. But yet we say, remember. Remember means a place where you can forget. And a place where everything is nothing, remember. Hu Bahadarga is in that level. The Oirein Soif Shekula Kamei Kalachshiv is really on the level where all is not. Bidugmas Indian Azikarim, similar to the idea of Zikarim, she'eino shayach ela bedavar she'eino nechshav be'eino. You can only remember, the whole idea of remembering is where it's shayach to forget, and what's possible to forget? Something that is utterly insignificant. Because if it's significant, you wouldn't forget it. Especially if you have God's memory, how can you forget something that's significant? The only way to forget it is because it's not significant. So I have no need to remember it, so I can forget it. And yet we say, remember from that place. So now we understand the gewaldig, the awesomeness of how high it is, this level that comes on Rosh Chodesh, this idea of v'nifkadata, you're going to be remembered. But in order to get it, how do you get it? Not through, again, now take a look. This you don't get through a build-up of perfect service. It's not like, we make a chart, and when you, like a mother says to her child, a father says, we'll make a chart, and when you finish the chart, we go to Disneyland. You're working to finish. Here it doesn't work that way. On Sfiras Vayomer, we're doing that. Exactly what we're doing on Sfiras Vayomer. Every day you're working your chart. You're making yourself more into a mensch. And when it comes the 49th day, you're a real mensch. You're a mensch. Now you're a perfect place where the 50th can come now. Because you're not a behema anymore. You're an Adam. You're a mensch. But on Erev Rosh Chodesh, the work is not to become a mensch. What's the work? What does Yonason say to Dovid? Not to become more of a somebody. Now disintegrate. Take the whole thing, demolish it. Break the whole thing. Shech the cow. Break it. No more. Ois. By becoming ois mitzias, that will stimulate it. So now the Rebbe's kasha is the question he's going to ask in the Maayon, hold it. If we're talking on a level where everything is nothing, so the question becomes, oich mira garnished. Just because you're making it to you, that should impress me. I'm not impressed by anything you do, and now by you becoming nothing now I should be impressed. Why is the nothingness impressing it? Nothing is, if the whole entity, what was there to begin with, is nothing, so its disintegration is also nothing. Nothingness became nothing, so who cares about that? The whole thing is nothing to this level. The tzarech level, we need to understand, shebahadarge the oirein soif shekula kamei kalachshiv, on such a high level where all before him is nothing, Gama bittul shala adam hu l'chayra kalachashiv. The bittul that you're doing is also nothing. Ve'eich shayach, and how is it possible? Shabittul adam, that the person's a bittul yipaked moishavecha, which is the theme of what Shaul says to Yonason says to Dovid. By your seat being vacant, by your not showing up, what's going to happen? Not showing up with a necktie and being like all you can be, but by you not being, yipaked moishavecha, you're not being. V'nifkadata, you're going to be remembered. But why is that? Why does the not beingness cause the yifkadata? Yo'oyer, how is it possible? Yo'oyer kiviyachal, that it should evoke kiviyachal on such a high level. How can it stimulate bedar gezu on such a high level? Sheyiv and ifkadata, you should remember. Ula haisif. And to add to that, he wants to show you how strong the kasha is. He wants to say like this. In the words v'nifkadata ki yipaked meshavecha means, what's going to stimulate the memory? What's going to cause God to remember? The fact that you're absent. The absent will act as a stimulant. Follow? The absence will act as a stimulant. So the Rebbe is asking now, how can anything stimulate on such a high level? This is not stimulatable, or since the worlds are nothing, so it's all meaningless. The only thing that can stimulate over there is self-stimulation. The Eibishter can stimulate within himself if he wants to create a world, to do something, but nothing outside of him has any meaning that it should be able to stimulate. Understand? That's the question. But to make the question stronger, he's going to say like this. We said earlier that there is the third level of arousal from below. The third level is when we work and we finish everything we can draw as a result of our work, we get a bonus. So we said the bonus is also coming from a place that's so high that you can't earn it, you can't stimulate it. But even though you can't stimulate it, what could you? You can make yourself perfect, so at least you're perfect, and he will only dwell if you're perfect. Now, he's giving to you as a gift, but he will only give it where there is a keli. So hold it. The Rebbe is making now a kal v'chomer. If on the third level, which is not as high as the fourth level that we're talking about over here, which is lower. And how did he prove that it's lower? Because perfection means something to it. You're perfect, now you're a perfect place for me to dwell. Yet even on that level, we say you can't stimulate it. It's like a person can't demand the bonus. If the boss decided to give a bonus, can't demand it. You can demand a pay hike if you feel you bring value to the company. You can demand the pay hike, a raise. You can't demand the bonus. A bonus is he'll give a bonus, he won't give a bonus. But who will he give a bonus to? To those that he feels are perfect. But yet so what do you see from it? You can't stimulate this level. So if on the third level, which is high, but not the highest, you can't stimulate. That means nothing can evoke it. At best, you can become a keli for it, but you can't evoke it. So the fourth level, how can it be evoked? How is it possible? Anything. And Dafka on the fourth level was saying that through your person's bittul, v'nifkadata ki yipaked, that the vacancy doesn't only allow it to happen, the vacancy causes it to happen. How can you cause on such a level? That's his question. So, ulahaisif, and to add, which is the third level, where the arousal from above comes after our perfection. And even on this level, there is some epis value. There's some consideration to a person's work. Nevertheless, it's not drawn al yedei avodas adam. You can't make it happen. Ela mitzad lamayla, it's coming from above. Mitzad chasto yizbarach, because of the Eibishter's chesed. Ki chafetz chesedu, because the Eibishter desires kindness. But hold it, if it's only coming from his kindness, why does it depend on any of our work? So he says, why is it only drawn and revealed to the person only after our perfect work? It's not because to help stimulate it, it's only because it's coming completely not through stimulation, it's coming through God's initiation, it's coming through Him initiating it. The only reason why we need our perfection is so that we should be a keli to receive it. But the avodah doesn't draw it down.
definitely doesn't stimulate it. It only receives it, but it doesn't draw it, and definitely can't stimulate it. But now we're saying that the higher level, remembrance, which is in such a high level, on the level where all before him is absolutely not. There we're saying, who misoirer kiviyachol, the Eibishter on that very, very transcendental level is being stimulated al yedei avodas adam, through our avodah. Which avodah? Not the avodah of being, but the avodah of not being. Bittul, bittul. Shal yedei yipakid moshevecha, through us being absent, which is the avodah of erev Rosh Chodesh, the adam of the person. Nasa, this makes sheyiv and efkadato, that there should be a remembrance. So how do we understand this? The Yuvan said this will be understood. So here the Rebbe is going to reveal to us the secret of bittul. What's the secret of the power of bittul? Al pi ha'mavua ba'drushim, based on what is explained in the other Maayon. Hashayches the Vayomer lo Yonason, Amiris Yonason le Dovid, le Machor Chodesh. It's explained in discourses, the connection to Yonason speaking to Dovid, to this theme of Machor Chodesh. Ki inyan Chodesh, what's the idea of Chodesh? Moilad alavana, the moon is coming back, is born again. What does it mean? Why is the moon absent, and why is the moon born again? The moon is absent because we don't see the moon. Why don't we see the moon? Because the sunlight that's hitting the moon is not being reflected to us. It's actually on the other side of the moon, is actually very bright, but on our side, this moon facing Earth is dark. Fine. So from our perspective, the moon is now not receiving from the sun. That's the idea. The dwindling of the moon's light means that the moon is receiving less and less and less and less and less, to the point that the moon is not receiving any light from the sun. What does it mean, a new moon? Now there's a new light. Spiritually, what does that mean? A new hamshacha from the sun to the moon. Now, if the sun is Hashem, and we are the moon, it means that God has given us a new koyach, a new light, okay? Ki inyan chidish moilad alavana, who hamshachas oir chadash mahashemesh, from the sun, bahalavana, into the moon. The yadua is known, sheshemesh v'yareach, that our celestial beings in the sky, the sun and the moon that we see, sharsham, their root, we see the physical sun and the moon, they are rooted and higher and higher and higher, all the way up, hem ze'er anpin u'malchus. These are the two elements. Ze'er anpin is generally the concept of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and malchus. Malchus is Shekhinah. So malchus is the power of God, feminine, that's within the creation. Ze'er anpin are the 6 emotions that are higher than malchus, so to speak, are still the levels of Hashem. The Zoh malchus hem mashpia u'makabel. They are both mashpia and makabel. Ze'er anpin is the mashpia, and malchus is what? The recipient. Ze'er anpin is the giver, is the transmitter. Bedugma shemesh v'yareach. So it's like the sun and the moon. The sun is always giving, the moon is receiving. Fine. Male and female. V'zau shahashayches the Machor Chodesh. This is the connection of tomorrow being Rosh Chodesh. Vayomer lo Yonason. That Yonason is speaking to Dovid. Why Dovid? Ki Dovid hu malchus. We said right in the beginning of the discourse, Dovid melech Yisroel. Dovid is malchus. Ki Dovid hu b'chinas malchus. Levana. Dovid is the moon. It actually says in the Medrash. What is the name of the moon? How do we refer to the moons? The moon is called Ma'or HaKatan. In the Torah it's called the small luminary. The sun is the big shot in the sky, the big luminary, and the moon is the small luminary. So it says when Hashem called the moon the small one, the moon felt really bad, that it was reduced to being the small one. So Hashem comforted the moon, and Hashem said to him, there are others that will be called the small ones, and you can be very proud to identify with them. Yaakov Avinu is called Yaakov hu HaKatan, B'nah HaKatan, this week in the parsha. Esav is B'nah HaGadol, he's the big Machor, the big B'nah HaGadol, he's the big son. And Yaakov, the Jewish people, B'nah HaKatan, the small one. The Jewish people were always the small child in the world. We were never a big nation. Yet, being small, we impacted the world more than anybody else. Being small. Not the big shots. Small. Binoc. The Eibishter tells the moon, Yaakov is called Katan, and Dovid is Dovid HaKatan. Dovid is the youngest of all his brothers. And each of them, all the brothers were great scholars. They had so much to show for them. And David was like the guy, they kicked him out. They sent him out to be with the black sheep there, to be out there, so that they were hoping that an animal will kill him. That's how rejected he was. So David is David HaKatan. Fine. So Kamosha Kasev is David Hu HaKatan. Vayomer Azal Chazal say Shenikra Cain. Why is David called Katan? Al Shem Amor HaKatan. Because of the small luminary Levana. Who is Yonason, who's speaking to David? Now this is the one part I didn't yet say in the beginning of the class, which is like really cool. Yonason, who's talking to David, is actually, Yonason is the son, and I don't mean the pun of Yonason being the son of Shaul. I mean the son meaning the son. Son, the Shemesh. Yeah, but in the relationship of David and Yonason, so Yonason is representing God, the Shemesh, the son. Because Yonason, if you're going to see Thuni, he in his name is Yud Kei Vav. When you spell Yonason, Yud Hei Vav, of God's name, Yud Hei Vav. And the only one that's not there is the second Hey. It's almost like all four Hey, Yud Kei Vav, the second. Why? Because David, he's the Hey. The Hey is Malchus. So Yonason is Yud Kei Vav. He's speaking, that's the sun speaking to the moon. And the sun is telling the moon, I want to give you something new, much bigger than what you had yesterday. But I can't give it to you if you just expand more and more, because what I'm giving you is totally beyond your vessel. So you know what you should do? Tomorrow be absent. Don't be there. Nullify yourself. Through your nullification, so now, that is going to stimulate a new light, Machor Chodesh. Tomorrow is going to come. Not only that, let's go back to the name Yonason. Yonason is Yud Kei Vav Nosan. Nosan means to give. That means that the Yud Kei Vav is transmitting, Nosan is the Mashpia. And who is he giving? To Malchus. The word Yonason is not just indicating on the concept of Yud Kei Vav. It's that the Yud Kei Vav is flowing, Nosan. Nosan means to give. Is being in a state of giving to Malchus. Come on, so let's see. V'zeu sheYonason hu Yud Kei Vav. Shemamshech mashpia b'Malchus. V'zeu sheYonason hu Yud Kei Vav Nosan. Nesinas v'hashpa b'chinas Yud Kei Vav l'Malchus. That the Yud Kei Vav is giving to Malchus. V'zeu ha'kesher, and this is the connection to Vayomer lo Yonason. Hamshacha mi Yonason l'David. Im Machor Chodesh. This is connected to the idea of Machor Chodesh. Ki inyan Chodesh. What's the idea of Chodesh? Hu hamshacha mizah shemesh l'Malchus. Is the hamshacha. So think about it. Vayomer lo Yonason. When Yonason is saying to David, what that is, that's Rosh Chodesh. Yonason speaking to David is Rosh Chodesh. What's Rosh Chodesh? The sun channels new light to the moon. So that's, David is Malchus, the moon. Yonason is the Mashpia. So Yonason is saying, Vayomer lo Yonason is that new light that's coming from the sun. That's Chodesh. If that's the case, that's great, but it's not perfect. Why is it not perfect? Then Yonason shouldn't be speaking to David on the day before Rosh Chodesh. Yonason should speak to him on Rosh Chodesh, because the day before Rosh Chodesh, the sun is not shining on the moon. That's the pre-preparation for the sun to shine on the moon, because on Erev Rosh Chodesh the moon gets lost and non-existent, and then the sun gives light to the moon. So Vayomer lo Yonason belongs more to when? To Rosh Chodesh, not on Erev Rosh Chodesh. How come Yonason is speaking to David on Erev Rosh Chodesh? And the answer is, the Rebbe is going to build it over here, Gaval. Because this itself, that we should become nullified. Remember when we spoke to 3 levels of a Sarusa D'Liela before? 3 levels of God's assistance, 3 levels? Remember, we didn't pay much attention to the first one. What's the first one? The first one is we can't do anything. We wouldn't even get out of bed unless God would give us a little, right? Shechzarta b'nishmasi. The first gives you back your neshama, pumps you with life. Boom. First, you need always the Eibush. So even for this work that we need to go ahead and do what? and become nullified, we need to be stimulated to that nullification. Similar to that, this guy who had to go kill his cow, he wasn't going to do it on his own. He was going to hold on to that cow until the Baal Shem Tov came and made sure that he's going to destroy his cow. The Baal Shem Tov got him to nullify that, to nullify his keli. So that itself, so that's Vayomer lo Yonason. Vayomer lo Yonason is not Rosh Chodesh, it's Erev Rosh Chodesh. It's God giving us power on Erev Rosh Chodesh to do the avodah of nullification so that we can later become a keli for the next level of Vayomer lo Yonason, for a much deeper Vayomer lo Yonason that happens the next day. So again, Ulaheyer, Shalpia, now based on what we said earlier, Inyan Vayomer lo Yonason Shayach le Rosh Chodesh. It's connected to Rosh Chodesh. Sha'oz, then, Hu'am Shacham is all Malchus. That's when the Ze'er Anpin gives light to Malchus, when on Rosh Chodesh. V'nif Kadato, you're going to be remembered. That's the remembrance. That's the great light. From this, that Yonason says to Dovid HaMelech, tomorrow is Rosh Chodesh, mashma. This implies, Shevayomer lo Yonason shayach gam lo ha'inyan the yapaked mashavech. It's connected not only to the remembrance that happens on Rosh Chodesh, but also on the vacancy and the emptiness and the absence that happens on Erev Rosh Chodesh. That the Erev Rosh Chodesh, Erev Rosh Chodesh, what happens on the day before Rosh Chodesh. What's the explanation? The explanation is, in order that we should be ready to relinquish ourselves and nullify ourselves, so that we can then later receive this new light of an ifkadata. This itself needs empowerment. And this is the idea of Yonason saying to Dovid, Machor Chodesh. We can say, the Zeshanemar Vayomer lo Yonason, Lifnei HaTevis Machor Chodesh. Since Vayomer lo Yonason is stated before Machor Chodesh, who? Ki Vayomer lo Yonason, hu hamshachas hanasinas koyach. This is the drawing down and the empowerment, mizal malchus, from the Ze'er Anpin, from the Mashpia to the Makabel, ala inyan de v'yapakid mashavech. He is giving him an empowerment on this idea of bittul, of Yapakid Mashavecha Shebe Erev Rosh Chodesh, which happens on Erev Rosh Chodesh, Shal Yedei Zeh V'nefkadato B'Rosh Chodesh, which will later bring to the next stage that we will be remembered on Rosh Chodesh. U'lechein Nemar Vayomer lo Yonason Lifnei Machor Chodesh. That's why it says Vayomer lo Yonason before tomorrow is Rosh Chodesh. Ki Vayomer lo Yonason hu anasinas koyach. The Vayomer lo Yonason is the empowerment al inyan Machor Chodesh. Not just on the inyan of Chodesh, but on the inyan of tomorrow being Rosh Chodesh. What's the inyan of tomorrow being Rosh Chodesh? That today is Erev Rosh Chodesh. What do you have to do by an Erev Rosh Chodesh? Nullify your vessel. Nullify yourself. You need empowerment to that. So Vayomer lo Yonason, God gives you the empowerment for that nullification as well. That's the first Isarusa de L'Sata that comes to, the Le'ela that comes to enable that. The Yesh L'Kashas, I'm going to learn the next, we're going to learn one more piece, and then we're going to take a break, but this is Gavaldik. The Yesh L'Kashas, Avur Ba'adrushim, this will all be explained, connected to this week's Parsha. Still now it's Gavaldik. We're learning about Rosh Chodesh. What's in Parshas Toldos? The Rebbe says, this is mamish the theme. So where in Parshas Toldos? Somewhere in the the first pasuk. What's the first pasuk of Parshas Toldos? Allah pasuk, ve'ele Toldos, and these are the offspring. Yitzchak ben Avram, Yitzchak the son of Avram. Avram hoiledes Yitzchak. There you go. You can see it. In this inyan of it, the pasuk says, and these are the offspring of Yitzchak, the son of Avram. Avram gives birth to Yitzchak. This whole idea of the mashpia giving the recipient, in order for the recipient to nullify himself and to be able to receive a higher light from the mashpia, I give you stimulation so that you can be stimulated and do something that will attract me, and then I will give you back an ultimate bonus. That's Yitzchak ben Avram, Avram holedes Yitzchak. That's the interplay 2 times going, as we're going to see. Yitzchak represents our work, the work from below. Because what's Yitzchak? Yitzchak is a well digger. If you look at Yitzchak's life, what is Yitzchak doing? Yitzchak is digging water from below. Torah doesn't tell us anything about Yitzchak's service other than he dug wells. And the concept of digging a well is that you're bringing water up from the bottom. You're taking earth and you're uncovering the life that's in the earth. That represents our work. We have to take our soil, that's our physical bodies, our gashmi, and discover the waters of life that is in it. We have to discover our godly potential that's within us. That's Yitzchak. Avram represents chesed. Avram represents godly flow from above. Avram is the mashpia, Yitzchak is the recipient in this sense. Okay. So now the question is, what's the redundancy? Yitzchak ben Avram, it says already Yitzchak the son of Avram. Eila Toldos, Yitzchak ben Avram. Once you know that Yitzchak is the son of Avram, what does the Torah have to say again? Avram, Hoiludas Yitzchak. So Rashi says, is because there were people that were doubting if Yitzchak is the son of Avram. So the Torah has to testify that because Yitzchak looked like Avram, everybody can say that Avram was the father of Yitzchak and not Avimelech, like there were the scoffers who were saying. The explanation is Avram represents a flow. We turn over the page from up down. Yitzchak is all about raising the feminine waters from below, stimulating from below. Now, we know that when we work from below to achieve something, purify, do avoda, we reach higher than when God is just giving us from above. And what do I mean by that? Even though we said earlier, it seems to be a contradiction. Earlier we said when the Eibishter is giving, how is he giving? He's giving from a place that we can't reach him. But when we're stimulating from a lower place. But here's a very important idea, which we can't forget. Even though when stimulation comes from above with our work, it's coming from a higher place, but it's coming from the external of the higher. When we work and stimulate, we're stimulating a lower place, but it's coming from the inside of the lower, not. And what do I mean by that? The Eibishter created the world. The Eibishter wanted very, very much our work. The Eibishter yearns for our work. Even though he knows that without him constantly helping us, it's like a parent and a child. The parent knows without constantly helping the child won't be able to do it. So the parent has to constantly, here and there and there. But ultimately, the parent wants the child to be able to do it himself. And that gives him deep satisfaction. So when you have these two people, Avram and Yitzchak, Avram represents always, when Avram saw a problem in the world, anybody struggling, what did Avram do? Avram immediately came and blasted that guy with help. Gave him teachings, gave him chesed, gave him kindness. Avram always. What did Yitzchak do when someone came to help? Yitzchak made him do all the hard work. Yitzchak demanded, you put in the work, you discover. So Yitzchak represents what? Avoda. That's why Yitzchak is Avoda. Avram is chesed. What's chesed? Chesed is a flow. Yitzchak is service, working. Okay. So, v'hine. Halah milmata l'mayla, that's what he's saying. The halah that comes from the bottom up, magas, reaches. L'makam naila yoyser, it reaches to a higher place. Mahamakam shemeshamu amshacha m'mayla l'mat. When the Eibishter is gifting us, because he doesn't really want that, he's doing it, but he's doing it a little more reluctantly. So that's what we mean it's coming from the chitzonius. Valderech sha'amar razal. Now, where do we find this concept? That we create something so much stronger and deeper when it comes through our work. We know that our relationship with God is also like a husband and a wife. Because Hashem is our husband and we're his wife. But the sages teach us an interesting teaching regarding the gender of a child. When it's going to be decided, when a person has children, when it's going to be decided the nature of the gender of the child, male or female. So the sages give a science to it. They give a science to it. What's the science? Husband and wife both are putting an input to create the child. Okay, they're both contributing. So they say like this: if the man's contribution, ish mazriat tchila, if the man is the one who's contributing first, then it's going to be a female. If the woman contributes first, it's going to be a boy. And this is related to the idea that we've always discussed, that father is more related to daughter and son is more related to mother. That's related to that idea. So we say like this: the one who's mazriat chila, that's the person who's dominating the union, is dominating the connection. So therefore we say like this: if the woman is the stimulator, she's the one who starts. So then the result of it is going to be her power, which her power translates into male power. If the man, then he, in a sense, calls the shots. So then the one is going to be, it's going to be what relates more to him, which is a girl. Okay, now let's translate this idea not just into the physical dynamics of children, but into the spiritual dynamics of us with God. Emotions are called children. And there are two types of, generally we can say that the love is male, masculine, is a boy, and the awe and fear is feminine. Isha yiras Hashem, the woman fears God. Or, sometimes in Chassidus it's spoken that there's two levels of love. There's small love, and there is Ava Rabba, big love. The great love is love where someone is loving God beyond all reason. That's called male. Female love is when the love is based on, I want to get something. I'm a nas l'kabel pras. I want to get something out of it, as opposed to total mesiras nefesh. So these are the these emotions, two types of emotions. One is male, one is female. It's going to come as a result of a person engaging God. Us together with Hashem create these emotions. So it says like this: if I'm waiting, if I don't try to daven, I wake up in the morning and I'm waiting for inspiration to hit me, which sometimes happens. Sometimes God is kind to us and He stimulates us. He sends us some kind of a bolt of lightning that's dear to like yesterday, God sent me a miracle. Unbelievable miracle. Before davening. The sky opened up. I saw God yesterday. And it wasn't even, it was funny. Sometimes I see it when I need something. I didn't even need anything. It wasn't like I needed something. It was just like, it had no other purpose other than the Eibishter saying, I'm here. I'll tell you the story. It's a weird story. I said it today by the Rosh Chodesh. I said it today. And that was so cool about it because the Eibishter, but I guess, when is that? When the Eibishter sees that I'm sitting here not doing anything. So, and the Eibishter wants action. So he's got to stimulate. It's showing on a weak state. When you're getting miracles, showing that you're in a weak state, you need miracles. But okay, fine. But I'm happy. At least I got the miracle. Fine. But let me first finish the thought. I'll come back to the story. Okay, I'll get the story in a minute. But the point over here is that when we're waiting for some kind of a miracle and a stimulation or inspiration to come from above, and then we daven and so it's man and woman. We're the woman. Oh, but then the man is the one who's creating first. Then the resultant emotion that's going to be is going to be female, which means a weaker emotion. If the woman stimulates first, that means that I wake up in the morning, I'm not in the mood of davening. I'm in a very ungodly state. I don't have any input that's inspiring. And yet I just sit down and I say, you know what, I'm going to make it happen. So it's like a woman who's stimulating her husband. Her husband is out of it. She's saying, no, we're going to do this. So when we stimulate first, then the Eibishter gets involved, then the resultant's going to be much stronger. So what do you see from here? This idea that in the Maayon he's pointing out in the Maayon. What is he pointing out in the Maayon? He's pointing out in the Maayon that the stimulation from when avodas amata, when you're doing it, it's going to create a higher child. It's going to trail the male child, which means a deeper child is going to be revealed than when we allow Hashem to stimulate first. That means when he is, Avram is when we're waiting for the miracle to happen, and then we're doing it. Yitzchak is when there's no miracles. You're going to work hard. It's coming from us. Follow? That's the idea. Let me tell you the story that happened yesterday, which is really cool. So I'm sitting here in the morning. I'm doing my learning before davening. And suddenly, what happened is 2 days ago, I was getting very frustrated with the front door because we always have to keep a carpet there. And after 10 years of being over here in Maayon Yisroel, I said, you know what, there must be a better solution to this. Especially since lately, the carpet was such that the door would sometimes shut over the carpet, and we were getting a lot of times people banging and trying to get in, even after, when the door is supposed to be open. So, we called the locksmith here, and then I figured, this must be ridiculous. Why don't I have a new knob that actually has a inside thing, you can turn it and to let it unlock, and then you close it, and then you can keep the door always shut. It's just that sometimes it's closed, sometimes it's open. Anyways, that's what happened, and my guy over here decided he's fixing it. He took off the old one and went to Home Depot, put in the new one. Fine. Puts in the new lock, but it wasn't good. So he had to it wasn't the right lock. He had to take it back off and put back on the old one because he couldn't leave a night without a lock. And tomorrow he was going to put in the new one. Fine. So he puts back on the old one, but because he fiddled with it and whatever it is, it broke. So the next morning, it was on. It was enough to close the door, but it was broken. So the next morning when I came in, I was learning. Basically, the situation was that you couldn't open that door from the inside. You couldn't open it from the outside. You couldn't open it from the inside. Basically, that door was not usable until we'll get a new lock and put it on. So there's a fellow who works there in the back office, and he learns here in the morning. Once a week, someone comes to learn with him. They learn together, chavrus. So he asks me, this guy, he comes in from the back over here. He asks me, over here, he says, oh, my chavrus just called me. He's downstairs. He can't get in. And I tried to open the door. I can't open it for him. It's locked. What should we do? I said, listen here, until we fix the lock, which we're going to do later today. But meanwhile, now, just tell him to go around. Okay. I tell him to go around. A minute later, I hear this guy learning. He's here. So I said, hey, how'd you get in? So the guy who works in the office says, I opened it with the key. The key? I was sitting. I said, key? Which key? The key is on the outside. The key's not on the inside. How'd you open it? There's only a key on the outside of the not on the inside of the. So he says, no, I did it on the upper lock. There's a lock, there's a bolt, a higher bolt lock on the top. I used the key for that. So I'm thinking, first of all, I didn't even think that wasn't locked, but I was thinking, I don't even have that key. I don't even know where that key is. It doesn't even exist. The key that I gave him is the key for the bottom one, because the guy changed it. That lock down there was changed already 3 times, or 2 times. So it's not even the lock. So how in the world do you use the key to open it? I said, you use the key to open the top lock? And he said, yeah. So I said, when you're sitting there and you're just, I'm sitting there saying, oh, that's a miracle. I said, that's a miracle. That's so strange. How did that work? I said, that for sure is not the key. And it worked. I said, it's a miracle. Then I said, but why would there be such a miracle now for no reason at all? Then I said, maybe because the guy's coming to learn, so Hashem made a miracle that he can come in. He doesn't have to go around, and the key that's not supposed to work worked. Fine. Okay, it's a nice little story, but watch how crazy this becomes. Okay, here's one of these moments that you see that, again, I didn't even give it too much thought, but it went through my head. And I said it loud. I said, that's a strange miracle that just happened, but okay. I'm sitting here, they're learning right over there. 5 minutes later, a guy is coming to pick up my CDs to distribute them. So he comes up over here, and I tell him, oh, the CD machine, Baruch Hashem, I've been having so many problems with them, but for whatever reason, it's so moody. Today, it's decided to work. So it's mamash a miracle that you can have the CDs, because the CD machine today wasn't making any problems. So because I told him that, he tells me, out of nowhere, I couldn't believe I'm hearing this. He tells me a story that there is a shlucha, she's a Chabad emissary, 40 years already in Amsterdam. I've got her name. She once came home, this is a story he tells me. She once came home, Shabbos, and her door was locked. And she's supposed to give a shiur for women. She can't get into her house. So in her frustration, she had to get in and she shares it. So she says, Eibishter, do I need to get into my house now for my sake? I need to get into my house for your sake, because I have to give a share. So can you please, just get me in? So as she's saying that, her neighbor walks by. I think the neighbor wasn't Jewish. I don't know. Maybe it wasn't. I don't know. So she calls her neighbor over. It was Shabbos, I would imagine. She says, can you open my door? The neighbor says, I don't have your key. She says, no, use your key. So the neighbor comes. She said, but your key is my key. It's not my key. She says, just use your key. So the neighbor comes, puts the key in, turns it, and it opens. Again, this is the story this guy is telling me right now. Okay? This guy's telling me. It opens. And he opened. And she gave the share. The next day, she meets the neighbor again, and the neighbor says, I should maybe, I don't want to have your key, maybe. So she says, you don't have my key. She says, what do you mean? I do. I just opened your lock. She says, you can try it. So the neighbor goes back and tries, and it's not opening. It was a one-time thing that happened. He tells me this story. And I'm thinking to myself, I was just 5 minutes ago speaking about that miracle that happened, that someone just came in, used the key that doesn't supposed to work. It's the bottom lock, not the top lock, and it worked. And I was thinking, why did that happen? Because someone has to come learn, and he wants to learn Torah, so why should the Eibush to make him go around the block? He has to learn now and finish. Wait. So I get up, and I'm all excited about this. I say, this is really crazy. So I run back to him, and I want to tell him the story. And I say, yeah. Meanwhile, people today, they have a white thing stuck in there. They don't even have a wire anymore. It's reached a whole new level. Today, they don't even have a wire. They walk around with, soon I tell my wife now that in a few years from now, children will be born, will think that actually, that part of the body is this white little thing sticking in out of the air. In any case, so I'm trying to talk to him, and he keeps saying to me, can't tell him. And he's on the phone. It was annoying me, because already 5 times I went to speak to him about something, and each time he's like, ugh. In any case, so I tell him this, but he doesn't know what I want. He thinks I want the key. So he flips me the key. So I take it, I say, let me check this out. I go downstairs, and I'm looking. I tried a long time. No, the key's not working. So then I come up and I tell him, he's finally off the phone, and I tell him, he said, yeah, I know, because when I went back down to let him out, I couldn't let him out. That's very weird. But the fact that he came in and told me that story, so what I took the lesson from it is that no matter if this is God's work that needs to get done in the world, don't complain you don't have the key, because everything will happen. As long as you know you're doing not your work, you're doing God's work, then all doors will be open. You have the key, you don't have the key, you have the money, you don't have the money, you have the thing. It's gonna happen, because it's a different reality. Like I said, Matzah Shabbos, the story of the Ruzhiner. The Ruzhiner said that the whole idea of Zman Tefillah, that you can only daven at certain times, are for those people that are asking for their own needs. But those that are asking for the king's needs, you can come in every time. It's a whole different system. So back to our story over here, that what? That sometimes we need to have miracles to stimulate us. Sometimes it happens on its own. Now let's read inside. This is the idea. Ish mazriat chila, when a man stimulates first, or transmits first, yoledas nekeva, they give birth, the baby will result as a female. Isha mizraat chila, if the woman is the one, yoledas zachar, it's a male. That the birth that comes through the feminine waters, that means if the woman is doing it first, means that she's the dominant one, which means feminine waters, which spiritually means it's our work. The makabel, the recipient who's considered lower, is rising to the mashpia. They're putting in the effort to stimulate, as opposed to waiting for it to all happen from above. The birth that happens as a result of it is higher from a birth that comes through the drawing forth of Maayon duchrin, which means masculine waters. Masculine waters represents the input from the mashpia, from the giver, from the man. It's called masculine waters. So the birth that's coming from feminine waters is more potent because it creates a boy than the birth that's coming from masculine waters that creates a girl. But even though, here's the amazing thing, even though what? Our work, when we work, it has a deeper effect. But still, without Hashem being there to, at some point before we start, as I said every morning, God gives us our neshama. He jump starts us no matter what. We always need a jump start. That's always. First, you need to have Hashem's input. And then comes our work, where we work from below, and as a result of that, we create something bigger. There's two reasons why. So then you're going to ask, why do we have to have God stimulating first? If it's so vital that we should put in the main work, then we should start. We initiate. There's two reasons. Number one, number one, we can't go up unless we're first enlightened from above. Valderech, he gives an example. Even when you say the woman is transmitting first, Isha Mizras, the Gam Kishe Isha Mizras Tchila, even when the woman is transmitting, it's because the man stimulated her. Even when the woman is the one who is being mashpia first, it's still through first the man's stimulation to her. So that's number one. That's reason number one. Is the Bichlal can't do it. Reason number two. The power that we have, that we have in our work from below, that we reach in a very deep place. Isha mazras tchilo yoylede zachar, that she gives birth to a male. Hamshachasa yizgalasai hu adei hamshacha mamayla lamata shalifnei Allah. That koyach that is essentially in the woman. The woman really has the koyach to reach higher than the man has. So the woman's koyach is very powerful. But even that koyach, it is hidden. It's a very hidden potential. It's a hidden power. She needs the man to help her reveal the strength that she has. The woman has the strength. The neshama has the strength. But we need the koyach of the Eibishter to be megala the strength that we have. Valderech isha ki tazriya v'yolda, the zeh shanasa hilada mezera isha huadei ish. It's true, isha ki tazriya v'yolda. A woman gives birth, the pasuk says in Tazriya. But this that the woman is able to give birth, huadei ish, is through the man. Oh, what are the two things? Let's see what the two things are. Number one, we're saying two things. Isha mazras, when the woman is being mazras, which means represents the idea that we're doing our avoda, when we're doing our service, we create a zachar. We draw down what's a zachar? We're stimulating a higher response from above, and that's the male. So now you realize there's two parts to this. There's the fact that the woman is doing it, and then there's the consequence of that there is a higher birth that's a result of it. When the Eibishter is assisting, and we say before this we need an assistance. So the two reasons that he's giving is for the two parts of it. First of all, even this itself, that the woman should be mazriya, needs a stimulation from the husband, that she should be able to do something. Number two, that she should be able to create as a result of her hazra'ah, to be able to create yoled zacha, to create the boy. That too needs the input, the koyach of the man, because even though he doesn't have the koyach to create, he has the koyach to reveal her koyach. It's an amazing thing. Her koyach is stronger than his koyach, but he has the koyach to reveal her koyach, to uncover her koyach. It's like, I'll give you an example. The earth, we spoke about this a lot in the earlier classes, a few Rosh Hashanah time we were learning. The earth has the koach to create yesh me'ayin. Only the earth has the koach to create something from nothing, to give forth vegetation. But that power to create yesh me'ayin, something from nothing, is only revealed in the earth through the rains that come from Shemayim. Shemayim can't create something from nothing. Doesn't have that koach. Only the earth has it. But it needs the heavenly input to reveal the koach that she has. So, the yesh loimer. Why is that? So he's going to explain now the second inyan. The zeh sha'koyach sheba'alo amamata l'mayla lagia l'makam nai l'ma'oid. This, that the koach of rising from below, that there is in the woman, in the halam or matalamayla, to reach to such a high place, this that it's dependent on Omayla Lamata, it's dependent first on the Mashpia. Even though the halah where she is rising is to a higher place than from where he is stimulating, so why is it dependent on him? The idea of halah means the raising of something that's low. Since the whole, I was saying something very deep over here. He says, what's the whole inyan of halah? Halah means raising up, something being elevated. The whole chiddush of elevating is that something low is being elevated. Since by definition something that's low is low, that's what it is. It's something that's low is being elevated. So, but what is being elevated? Something that's low. And low and high are total opposites. So low doesn't have a shaykhis to something, to high. Low is opposite of high. So therefore, even though the low has the power to stimulate very, very high, but since its outward presence is low, its relationship to the highest of the high is concealed, is not revealed. Because in a revealed state, it is low. So therefore, it needs the one that's high to reveal that power that the low has that's related to the high. The koyach of gil, even though it's there, but it's there behelim, it's there in a concealed. Let's read. This koyach that the halah has to reach lamayla very high, who behelim is concealed. What's happening when you're having a hamshacha? Hamshacha means that the one that's high comes down to the one that's low. That's what's happening. Since the low is opposite than high. So even though it's embedded in the low, let me repeat this again because I didn't explain it well. Even though it is embedded within the low, dafka, because a connection to the highest of the high, because ultimately God wants what? The low. What does the Eibishter want? The lowest of the low. So the lowest of the low has a shaykhis to what? To the highest of the high. But since by definition it's low, what kind of shaykhis do you have to high? So therefore, when the high shines light down to the low, you're bringing a high to the low that attracts and uncovers the high that's in the low, so it enables the low to activate its shaykhis to the high. That's what it is. Mizgala hakoyach shabalos atach. Umagia lamayla yoiser, and then it reaches higher. Okay. This explains now very geschmack these words Yitzchak ben Avram hoiledes Yitzchak. This whole theme. Let's see. V'zeu Yitzchak ben Avram hoiledes Yitzchak. The first phrase Yitzchak ben Avram means sheYitzchak atzmoi hu ben Avram. What does that mean? Hu shahala atzma ba al yedei kedima sahamshach. What Yitzchak means to the work from below. What did we say earlier? The woman can't even do her work without the man stimulating. So what does that mean? That means Yitzchak is a product of who? Yitzchak is a product of Avram. Avram means the input from the mashpia, from the influencer. So Yitzchak is a product of halah, the way of hamshacha. So Yitzchak, the one who rises, is a derivative of Avram, so we said it earlier, without Hashem giving you your neshama back in the morning, you can't do anything. The Eibishter has to give you the first oomph. Fine. But what's the next meaning? Avram hoiledes Yitzchak. That's the second thing. What else does Avram Avinu, what else does the man give the woman? In addition, that man gives the woman the ability to stimulate. The man also gives the woman the ability that through her stimulation, she should bring down even something higher. That's the second thing. So that's the meaning. Avram, hear the depth of this. Hear these words, everyone, pay attention. Avram hoiled as Yitzchak. Avram gives Yitzchak the power. Yitzchak is the woman. Avram hoiled, in this case, Avram gives Yitzchak the power to have a hoiled, to create a vlad, to create the zachar. What did we say? The woman, through her avoda, creates the zachar, creates the male. But who gives the Yitzchak the power to be hoiled, to be able to have? So Avram hoiled as Yitzchak doesn't mean Avram gave birth to Yitzchak. Avram empowers Yitzchak to be a father, to be able to be a mother in that sense, because to be able to create that child. So Avram he puts that power of birth be Yitzchak into Yitzchak. Who? This that through our work below we reach very high. It's drawn and it's revealed through what it is receiving from above. So similar to that. Vayomer lo Yonason Machor Chodesh. When Yonason says tomorrow is Chodesh, Hamshachas anasinas koyach mezol malchus. First is the Eranpin we said on Erev Yom Tov, on Erev Rosh Chodesh, has to give koyach to malchus, to the moon, to do what? To be able to nullify herself. That's the avoda. The avoda over here is the nullification. So al inyan the Machor Chodesh, he gives the power of So understand something. In what's going to happen on Rosh Chodesh, there's two things that happen. Number one is that Malchus is going to be absent. And number two, through the absence of Malchus, it's going to create V'nifkadata, you will be remembered. If you remember earlier, we explained how that V'nifkadata is the highest of the high. It's even higher than the perfect light that comes down after we're perfect. Remember we learned earlier. And what did we say? Where do we have that power to reach so high? Through which avodah? The avodah of bittul. But that avodah of bittul, and we asked the question in the Vayomer, how does the bittul even have significance? Remember that question? How does it even have significance to accomplish? So what we're learning right now is as follows. The sun gives the moon, the Ze'er Anpin gives the moon, gives the Malchus two koiches. Koyach number one, that she should even be able to do her avodah of Yipaked Mashavecha, which is the avodah of Erev Rosh Chodesh. Number two, of being absent. Number two, the Ze'er Anpin reveals in Malchus the Koyach that through her avodah of Yipaked, she should cause the Nifkadata, the birth, which is the Nifkadata. Two in Yana. Based on what we're learning so far, I'm just going to show you how deeper the Vayomer gets. Based on what we're learning right now, it would almost seem like, which inyan is greater? The fact that Malchus can reach absence, or the fact that through that absence, it touches the nefkadat that causes the remembrance? Which one is greater? The second one, that through the absence, it has such power that it can create the highest nefkadat. The Rebbe is going to explain the Vayomer Punkt Fakert soon. That as great as the birth that comes as a result of the nefkadata of the thing, the actual nefkadata itself is even greater, because he's going to explain that in today's days, we're living in a world where the birth that comes from it is what's more important. But in the world of Mashiach, as we're going to see soon, it's the bittul and the halah, the rising itself of Malchus, rising and rising and rising, that is even of greater significance and higher than the birth that's created from it, as we're going to see. But that's later. But now we're going to get to that. So the Yeshleimer we can say shal derech zehu b'vayomer lo Yonason Machor Chodesh, that when Yonason says Machor Chodesh, hamshachas anasinas koyach mezol malchus, this koyach nasinas koyach from the Erampa to malchus. Alle inyan the Machor Chodesh yesh b'zeh shnei inyan, and has two inyan. Dugma shnei inyanim shabal shacham Avram leYitzchak. Similar to the two ideas when Avram gives to Yitzchak. Number one, Yitzchak is ben Avram, that the etzem Yitzchak's avodah is a derivative from Avram. Secondly, that through Yitzchak, that through Avram, Yitzchak should be able to be hoiled. That was the second thing. Number one, on asinas koyach ala inyan the Yipaked Mashavecha. One is in asinas koyach on Yipaked Mashavecha. Habitl v'halod the Malchus, that Malchus should be able to have bitl. Al derech Yitzchak ben Avram, this is similar to the idea of Yitzchak. The work of Yitzchak comes as a result of Avram. V'anasinas koyach, and then the empowerment. Sha'al yedei Yipaked Mashavecha. Through the work, Yevon if Kadata should create even what seems now as something even greater, a remembrance, Al Derech Avram Hoiladas Yitzchak. This is the second Indian, that Avram is empowering Yitzchak to affect something as a result of his bittul, as a result of his work. Okay, let's take a little break over here. By the way, so this is something to appreciate. We have only a page and a half, not too much, and the Maayon takes us to a very, very special place. But what I do want to say is, if you see, this is the Rebbe's Maayon, very different than all the Maayon from all the Rabbeim before. Bechlal, this is the style in every Maayon. It's the Lumdis and Lumdis Shebe Lumdis and Lumdis, it's a very Talmudic, scholastic kind of a learning, as opposed to the Maayon that we learn from the Tzemach Tzedek or from the other. They represent more ideas. They lay out the concepts, the ideas. Why? Because the Rebbe's Malchus, and what does Malchus do? Malchus takes it all in, and as a result of him back and forth, boom, uncovers the deepest depth in what they're saying, much more than you'll have by learning all the discourses ever. And it's what you see. You see that this Inyan that we're learning over here, first of all, the Rebbe doesn't have any content in his Maayon that's his own. It's all just the Tzemach Tzedek says this one, because that's what Malchus is. Malchus doesn't have anything of its own. It's only receiving. But on the other end, it can create totally new ideas like has never been created before from what it receives from before. It's very interesting when you see that in you. Okay, so give us a few more minutes. We're going to take a little cholent break.
Now it's good. It's new and working. The only thing I'm afraid is that I don't remember always to go and close it. The Maayon we're learning tonight is a school of memory. It's talking about remembering. Oh yeah, she was pouring the water out from there. Mm-hmm. I hope it was a good pair. The Eibishter chose that pair to make it the first shidduch, the first. Avram Masar got married before, but as a Jewish. Okay, so now we continue. Perek Vav. V'hinei, now behold. Now, when we speak that there is a quality of raising up from below upward, over when things are flowing from above, which we learned earlier, that's the idea of Yitzchak versus Avraham, which the empowerment is coming from Avraham, but the real impact is coming from Yitzchak. So when we're saying that there's a superior quality to work that comes from below, as opposed to gifts that are given from above, Shnei and Yanim, there's two in this itself, that we say that the one below has power, like the woman has power over the man, in the sense that only she can create the boy, right? Not the man. So there is two dimensions in this idea. Number one, shahalom or mata l'mayla, that the elevation from below upward. Number one, it stimulates and it draws forth from a higher place. From when in every loving relationship between two people, a person's love that is extended to their whoever they're loving, that is coming just out of their own volition, is always weaker than when they feel that the other person is seeking their love, is stimulating it and working it. And definitely in a marriage, in a relationship between a husband and wife, it's that way. If the man feels that the woman wants to be close to him, that gets him far more excited than when he just wants her because he wants to be in relations with her. In other words, when he feels that she's interested in him. So that's what he's saying. The halom o matalamayla. Now with Hashem, it's when Hashem is just giving us blessings. He gives us much more, he's giving us deeper, far more intense blessings when we're the ones, when he feels that as a wife, we're interested in him. And that creates much deeper blessings. So, shahalom o matalamayla mo'iredes umamsheches, it evokes and it draws down mamakam naila yosef from a higher place. Ma'am shachabom amayla matzad atzma, from that which comes on its own. Ukumuv le'el mahadrushim, and like we explained earlier from the Maayon, shahamayla da halal legabam shacha, that the quality that there is in halah and rising up compared to what comes from down from above, hu al derech, we compared it to isha mezras tchilo yalad zacha, that the woman transmits first, it creates a male, a boy. So what does that mean? So let's take a look.
So let's understand something. When we're saying she has more power coming from her, it's in what? In what's coming from him. She evokes in him more than he will evoke in himself on his own. That's what we're saying. Ultimately, it's what's coming from him. But we're saying she is stimulating in him more than what he would stimulate or emanate from himself on his own. It's almost like to say something like this. In order for a boy to be created, the man has to be giving something deeper of himself to create the boy. But only his wife will be able to evoke such depth in him, as opposed to when he is initiating it. If he's initiating, he's giving only of his external, and that's why it's going to result in a girl. But if he's giving from a much deeper place, so for example, in love between us and Hashem, which we say, there's two types of love. There's a small kind of a love, and there's a much higher love. And the higher love is called a male. So that birth of that child, it says when a Yid is loving God with that kind of a love, Ava Rabbah, this great Ava Rabbah is coming from Hashem, it's not coming from us. We can't create this endless, boundless love to Hashem from within us. It comes from God. But when will we draw down such a love from Hashem? When our avoda, when we weren't waiting for God to stimulate us first, when we worked hard and we were the ones who transmitted first, so meaning to say, we put in that input, we will cause that the birth that's going to come from above is going to be a male. So it comes out according to that. Even the quality that there is in the woman, even the quality that there is in the woman over the man is that the woman's quality is that what she will draw down from the man is going to be a bigger revelation of the man. So it's not ultimately her quality. The next stage, but there's a second thing, and that's what he's going to explain in a moment. There is something about her and her alone, not what she evokes in him. Something about her and in her service and what she is doing in and of itself, not what she's evoking. It's also deeper, and more than that, it's not only deeper than him. It's not only deeper than when it's coming from his own initiation, but rather deeper than that. It's even deeper than what she evokes in him as a result of it coming from her initiation. Now, there's two things over here. Is that because of her avoda, she causes a deeper revelation of him. That's number one. Number two, her avoda in it of itself is more powerful. And it's even more powerful on what she stimulates and brings from him. So let's see it over here. The first thing is what, again, let's see. The first inyan, he says, is shnei inyanim. See, they follow this two inyanim. Number one, it's drawing from her husband, from him, from a higher place. This is the idea of, he says over here, of Isham Ezras Chila Yoled Zocher, Shailad Sahava Shebebchina Zocha Avaraba. But where is it coming? Misrusa Deliela. This great love comes only when God touches your soul. It says you can only love God with this immense love when you're not loving God with human love, you're loving God with godly love. So it has to come from him. But what caused God to give you that love? The fact that you put in the work. This that the Serusa D'Li'el is coming from such a pneumistic place. That's why it's creating great love. It's coming because it was drawn through our work, and the Eibishter wants us to stimulate him and to draw, that we should draw him out, that he shouldn't do it on his own. But that's number one. What's the second Indian? There's a certain quality in the very work itself of the woman, which in our case, in our neshama, means our work in serving Hashem and in nullifying ourselves. Not what our nullification will create, But in our nullification itself, there's something very, very, very powerful. Shehi nailus yoiser, that nullification itself is even greater. Gam ma'amshacha shal yedei halah. Also, even then, what we evoke through our elevation. There's two things. There's elevation, and there is what elevation stimulates to draw down, the drawing down. So we're saying that when our elevation causes a stimulation and stimulates something to come down, it's higher than when that light comes on its own. But even deeper and stronger than what the elevation stimulates to come down is the elevation itself. That the elevation itself is greater even than what the elevation stimulates. Because ultimately, elevation is higher than descending. When the low is elevated high, it's deeper and greater than anything coming down, even if it's the deepest high coming down. It's still greater, the elevation from below, as he's going to explain. Okay. There is a tremendous quality in Or Chayzer. Or Chayzer means rebounding light. It says in Kabbalah there's a concept called Or Yashar. Or Yashar means light going straight, coming from the source. Going, and how far can it go? It's Ein Sof, go. Then it's called Or Chayzer, is that the light hits the bottom and starts going back. So a reflection. Reflective light going back, how far back does it go? Or Chayzer? So it's amazing. It goes back all the way to the source. And how far to the source? And it gets lodged. It lodges itself in the mashpia, in the source, deeper than from where the initial light emanated outward. It's the rebounding, let's start concept of, it's the concept of, it's still the concept of mitalmuda yoiser mikulam. The mashpia, the teacher can teach, and he can learn a lot from his teachers, he can learn a lot from his friends, but he learns the most from his students who challenge him. So because they cause the Or Chayzer, the returning light. And that takes him deeper into himself than from where he initially emanated the light to begin with. And that's the quality of what? Of Or Chayzer. And there, it's not about what it will stimulate. No, it's the etzem inyan of where it's going up to. How far in is it going? It's going. In other words, our avoda reaches back into Hashem deeper from where Hashem emanated to create or to make or anything. As we just lodge ourselves back into the source. The Or Chayzer Chayzer lekadmus hamatzel mamish. It returns to the very, very, very beginning of the emanator himself. Deeper, it's almost like it goes back into the subconscious of the matzel. After everything is said and done, we're going to be looking at Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. And which one are we going to choose? Which one are we going to choose and say, we will go with you? To which one are we going to say, we're going to go with you? The sages say that when Mashiach comes, we will all select Yitzchak in the end. Yes. We will say to Yitzchak Tafka, you are our father. Why? Because Avram is the sending light, Yaakov is a combination of both, and Yitzchak is what? Ascending. And ultimately, the highest thing that we will appreciate is Halah, the ultimate elevation. Then it's going to be revealed the quality of Halah itself. Not the Hamshacha that comes as a result of the Halah, which is very high. But the Halah itself, what does Halah mean? Halah means the going out of Kalim, out of vessels, going back into the source and that elevation. The Ashloima we can say. The Shnei Anyanim Shaichem Zelazeh. Both in Yanim are connected. The Zeh Shal Yedei Allah Hamshachu and Nailas Yaiser. The two are connected. Why is it that when through Halah, through elevation, we draw down a higher light, we reciprocate a higher light than without elevation, when things are just emanating on their own? It's because elevation is so high. Because elevation is so high and so deep, so when it stimulates light, it's stimulating higher from a higher place. But even though that's so great, the main Maila, the truest Maila is the actual elevation itself, not what it produces. From a higher place, because in the halah itself, the elevation itself is so gewaldig. Ella, but now, sha'achshav, in the current world view, meaning in the evaluation of quality, the way we seek, the way things are evaluated currently, things are appreciated based on what it can stimulate. In other words, in the current world, when I say worldview, it means in the current system that is now in place until Mashiach comes, we're not so appreciative of the inyan of halah. That doesn't take precedence. What takes precedence now is drawing down, oires bekelim, drawing down godliness into the world, which is hamshacha. It's drawing things down, mamad. That's why, for instance, now Torah and mitzvahs are greater than prayer. Prayer is what? Zichu hakeli, purifying the vessel, higher and higher and higher, going deeper into today's days. Learning Torah, doing mitzvahs has a certain superiority over it. Or let's say Torah versus mitzvahs. Torah is considered drawing down godly light, you're drawing Hashem's wisdom down into the world. Mitzvahs is what? Primarily refining, elevating the gashmiistic things. So in our world today, Torah is a Talmud Torah connected. Torah is greater than mitzvahs. Hamshacha is greater than halah. The quality that halah has, is that it brings down a higher hamshacha. In other words, today's days, even though we say that halah is greater, but why is halah greater? Halah is greater because it brings down a higher light. Not because halah in itself is greater. But in the Mashiach world, we're going to appreciate the quality of halah itself for the sake of the halah, not for what it stimulates. That's what he's saying. In today's days, the ikr quality is what we draw down. Hamayla da halah, and since this is the mindset we have today, so hamayla da halah, what is so great about this elevation? Notice today's days you say Chassidim spend so much time davening, you could learn Torah. So what is the Chassidish answer? The Torah that we learn after davening, when you daven long, and you put it in and you're elevating your kavanah, you're making yourself more lishma, you're more bittul, you're more this, that kind of Torah is a greater Torah. So the ultimate quality is the Torah that you learn. But the Torah that comes after davening. So which one is greater? The guy who's just learning Torah, the one who davens so that he can learn? The one that davens that he can learn is greater. What? Why is it so great? Which one? The davening is greater. But why is the davening greater? Not because davening is greater, but because it will stimulate later a greater Torah. That's the way it is today. But from the Mashiach perspective, as we the end of when Yitzchak is going to be the main one of our fathers. So you were right when you said Yaakov. In today's worldview, Yaakov is the greatest of our fathers. But in the worldview that we're going to change when Mashiach will come, Yitzchak is then going to be appreciated more than anybody else. Not just because Yitzchak draws down higher, but that Yitzchak itself, the Halah itself, is the quality. For example, a similar idea to this. The Gemara has a question: which one is greater, Talmud Gadol or Maisa Gadol? Is Torah study greater or mitzvahs are greater? Back and forth, the Gemara says they didn't know. And then they came to a conclusion. Talmud Gadol shemevi lidei Maisa. The Torah study is greater because it brings to action. So today's days, which one is greater, Torah or mitzvahs? Torah is greater because Torah brings to action. But even in that, we're emphasizing that action is greater because the whole mile of Torah is that it brings to action. But yet, in today's world, action we still say Talmud Gadol Shemei L'Yedei Ma'aseh. When Mashiach will come, then it's going to be revealed Ma'aseh Gadol on its own. That action is taka greater, not as a detail in Talmud, but it will stand independently in its greatest elevation. So similar to that is what we're saying now. Today's days, Halah is greater than Hamshacha, but because Halah brings a higher Hamshacha. Because the higher you go, the higher lights you can bring down. But when Mashiach comes, there's going to be an appreciation in the elevation itself. Hold on. Asid Lavi, when Mashiach comes, Tizgal Hamayla Da'ala Atzma. We'll reveal the Ma'ila. V'apize Yesh Loimar. Based on that, we can say the Inyon. So which one? And let's take a look at the two phrases. In Yitzchak ben Avram, Eila Toldos Yitzchak ben Avram, Avram Hoyledes Yitzchak. So which one is greater, Yitzchak ben Avram or Avram Hoyledes Yitzchak? So in today's world, Avram Hoyledes Yitzchak is greater than Yitzchak ben Avram. Because let's go back to the pirush that we had earlier. Yitzchak ben Avram means the power for Yitzchak to do his work and being Yitzchak comes from Avram. Avram empowers Yitzchak to do the work of Halah. Avram Hoyledes Yitzchak means that Avram gives the power for Yitzchak's Halah to create a Hamshacha, a higher Hamshacha, a higher birthing. So in today's world, what's greater? The Avram Hoyledes Yitzchak is greater than the work of Yitzchak itself, the bittul of Yitzchak itself. But in the Mashiach world, Yitzchak ben Avram is greater than Avram Hoyledes Yitzchak. So that's what he explains over here. Vapize Yesh Loimar, the Inyan Yitzchak ben Avram, who Naila Yoser is greater, at least in the Mashiach world, me Inyan Avram Hoyledes Yitzchak. The Inyan Hoyledes Yitzchak, Hamshachas Koyach HaHalada beYitzchak, it's giving potency in Yitzchak. Hoyladas Ahava shebebchina Zachar, Al Yedei Allah Asman. You're giving the female, the feminine, the woman the power that through her work she should create the male. Isha Kisazriya hu Mailas Hamshacha shal Yedei Allah. This is the quality of the Hamshacha that comes through the Halah, the drawing forth that comes through the elevation. The Inyan Yitzchak ben Avram hu Mailas Halah Atzma is the Maila, the quality of the elevation itself. And that's the reason why. So Yitzchak ben Avram, when you have the two names, see the way the Torah puts it in is two names, but in flipped order. Yitzchak ben Avram, and then Avram Hoyledes Yitzchak. Two phrases, and they mean two different things. So in Yitzchak ben Avram, always the first name is the more dominant one. So Yitzchak ben Avram, whose name is mentioned first? Yitzchak. In the second phrase, whose name is mentioned first? Avram. Because both of them are explaining the quality of Yitzchak. Number one, and that Yitzchak needs Avram to give him. But in the first case, Avram is empowering Yitzchak for the sake of Yitzchak, for Yitzchak to be Yitzchak. In the second case, Avram is empowering Yitzchak for Yitzchak to be able to bring down a higher Avram, a higher revelation from above. Okay? So therefore, in Yitzchak ben Avram, in that phrase, we have Yitzchak first, because Yitzchak, here we're really revealing the true quality of Yitzchak. True, we need an Avram to help that. Just like the woman needs the man in order for her to be able to do her work. But still, it's the power of Yitzchak. The power. But in Avram, Hoyledes Yitzchak, the quality that Yitzchak is going to have in the end is that he's going to reveal a higher Avram, a higher Hamshacha, a higher, and therefore, which name is mentioned first? Avram is mentioned first. That's what he's explaining here. The Zeshev Yitzchak ben Avram, Mema Yitzchak Lifnei Avram. Yitzchak is before Avram. The one that's mentioned first means he's higher. Avram, Hoyledes Yitzchak Nemer Avram, Lifnei Yitzchak. Avram is said before Yitzchak. Ki ba'Avram Hoyledes Yitzchak. When Avram gives birth to Yitzchak, meaning Avram gives Yitzchak the power to draw down higher lights as a result of his work. Ikar ha'mayla hu b'hamshacha. The main maila is, the main quality is in the drawing down. U'lecheina ha'schala v'ikar hu Avram. That's why Avram is prominent, more prominent. U'be Yitzchak ben Avram, Yitzchak atzmai. This is the quality of Yitzchak himself. Ikara Maila hu ba'Hallah. The main Maila is in the Hallah. L'chein nema tchila Yitzchak. That's why it says first Yitzchak. Ki hua Ikar. He is the one. V'achech mevar. It's just explaining how did Yitzchak get to be Yitzchak. He needs his father to help him. It's similar to the idea of Yafa koyach haben mi koyach ha'av. Who's really greater? The ben. Yafa koyach haben mi koyach ha'av. But that itself, that Yafa koyach haben, where did it come from? Mi koyach ha'av. The father empowered the son that the son should outdo him. Was it? V'achech mevar sha'aderech lovei la'Hallah de Yitzchak. How do you come to the Allah de Yitzchak? Wa'idei am shacham amayl lamata ben Avram. So if you want to have a really good davening, to bring it, that you should have a real Yitzchak avodah. You need to have a lot of Torah before that to help you in that avodah of zichuch. Look at, and then the Rebbe, look at Aura 32. There are two Rosh Chodesh Kislev. This is a Maayon on Rosh Chodesh Kislev. Rosh Chodesh Kislev is Machor Chodesh. It's the Rosh Chodesh on Chodesh Kislev. In Chodesh Kislev, there's two Chassidic Yamim Tovim. One is Yutes Kislev, which is the day the Alter Rebbe came out of jail. The other one is Yut Kislev, is the day the Mittel Rebbe came out of jail, the son. So the Rebbe is going to explain over here that Avram and Yitzchak, that Alter Rebbe and Mittel Rebbe is Avram and Yitzchak. Avram, Bechlal, the Alter Rebbe's avodah was more about, he revealed the concepts. The Mittel Rebbe was more the avodah of taking the Alter Rebbe's concepts and like a gush from below, opening up. So the Yitzchak was, the Mittel Rebbe's avodah was more associated with Yitzchak, and the Alter Rebbe was more Shnei Oyer. The name is light. Two lights, the light of Nigla, it's all revelation from above. Doiv Ber represents more the avodah of a bear, refining the low. So it says, I'll say this, Doiv Ber, his name is Doiv Ber, which is, a Doiv Ber is a bear. And the bear represents ultimate Gashmias. Gashmias, the material in its most, the Gemara says about a bear is misurvo bebasar. He's like, it's like it's a heavyweight. And that has to go through a zichuch. The Mittel Rebbe is more that Indian. So he says, take a look. And Rosh Chodesh Kislev is a hakadama for both. So that's why in Rosh Chodesh Kislev you're going to have two inyanim. Erev Rosh Chodesh. What's the avodah of Erev Rosh Chodesh? Erev Rosh Chodesh is what? Halah. The moon disappearing. Halah. It's the avodah of Bittul. What's Chodesh? The Chodesh itself is the revelation from above that comes after and as a consequence of it. So the Rebbe is going to explain that in Rosh Chodesh Kislev there's Erev Rosh Chodesh Kislev and Rosh Chodesh Kislev. And these are, in Rosh Chodesh, is the empowerment for the future Yamim Tovim that happened during the month. The Yom Tov of the Alter Rebbe of Yutes Kislev, and the Yom Tov of the Mittel Rebbe. And the Rebbe says an amazing thing. Which one happened first? Yutes Kislev, or which one happened first in time? Yutes Kislev, because the Alter Rebbe was older, he was in his life, and the Mittel Rebbe's happened later. But which one do we encounter first every year? Yud Kislev. So it's going to be the interchange of Yitzchak ben Avram Holidas Yitzchak. It's mamish the same minyan, and they're both rooted in Rosh Chodesh Kislev, which has both Erev Rosh Chodesh and Rosh Chodesh. Re'ei basicha desvadazu shal derech zeu benegei le the Yud Kislev Yuteskis sheshneim klulim beRosh Chodesh Kislev. They both contain the Erev Rosh Chodesh Kislev Machor Chodesh. Hu achana l'shnei inyanim. It's achana for these two yamim tovim. Shahaseder the shnei inyanim elu. The order of these two inyanim. Shnei oifanim. B'shanim in time. Hagula the Yutes Kislev b'shnas Tavkuf Nun Tes. The Geula of the 19th of Kislev happened in 1798. Hu lifnei Hagula the Yud Kislev b'shnas Tavkuf Pei Zayin. It happened Ayin Samach Tes Ayin Tes. Almost 30 years, 28 years earlier. But the way we encounter it, Yud Kislev is a lifnei Yutes Kislev. There must be a reason. And based on what it is known, he brings from his father, Rab Kuti Levi Yitzchak, in his letters. Sha'admer Azokim va'admer Namtzoi hamal derech Avram v'Yitzchak. Are similar to Avram and Yitzchak. Hakadima the Yud Kislev, the Yutes Kislev, who al derech Yitzchak ben Avram. Yud Kislev coming out before Yutes Kislev is similar that Yitzchak ben, and actually the Mittler Rebbe is a son of the Alter Rebbe, and that's Yitzchak ben Avram. So here's the Yitzchak comes first, and that's why in the year Yud Kislev we encounter that day before the 19th of Kislev. V'akdima the Yutes Kislev, the Yud Kislev, and the preference of Yutes Kislev, who al derech Avram hoiledes Yitzchak. That's interesting. Okay. Al derech, and similar to that is Yonason and Dovid. We're going to Siv Zayin. Al derech zeh Yonason and Dovid. Same idea. Za'u malchus. The Zeirampin and malchus. The achshav zahu l'mayla malchus. It's an amazing what he's going to say now. You think about this. There's enough over here to like reorient one's entire appreciation of all of Yiddishkeit in the next. Let's look. Today's day, Zah is l'mayla malchus. Zah is HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Malchus is the Shechina, Knesset Yisroel. The Zahu mashpia l'malchus. The Zeirampin is mashpia in malchus. And even when we say that Knesset Yisroel has a Maila, even when we say that we, Knesset Yisroel, Malchus has a Maila over, that when we do it has more koyach than when the Eibishter does, that's because when we do, we're evoking deeper koyachas in Him to give us. But ultimately the real power is in Him, not in us. It's just that when we do, it gets Him more excited that He should respond with a deeper place. But it's still Him, it's not us. But it's dependent on us. So ultimately, who has more power? We have more power. But what's our power? To evoke in Him greater power. So our power is to bring out His strength. That's today's days. Once it reaches the days of Mashiach, the whole thing flips over. No, we taka have power that's even greater than His powers. He's going to reveal. Not because we can stimulate deeper in Him, but because the etzem inyan of the tachton has a greater inyan than the. Let's see what he says. The main maila is when you're talking about Erev Rosh Chodesh and Rosh Chodesh, we don't. What do we celebrate? When do we break out the guitars? On Rosh Chodesh, Gilui, revelation. Because finally, V'nifkadato, we remembered, Gaval, the great light came. What's so great about Erev Rosh Chodesh? You can't get to Rosh Chodesh without what? Without Erev Rosh Chodesh. V'amayla the yepokid mashavecho bittul v'aliyas hamalchus. The bittul and aliyas hamalchus. Who shall yedei zenase v'nifkadato. This makes the v'nifkadato. This creates the v'nifkadato. It brings a bigger remembrance. Ikamavu badrushin. Shahallah the Erev Rosh Chodesh hu b'chdei. The reason why Erev Rosh Chodesh the moon disappears. Shal yedei zet tiyah hamshacha b'Rosh Chodesh. This is a preparation. There should be a higher hamshacha on Rosh Chodesh. But la'asid lavai. But when very much in the future, la'asid lavai, when Mashiach will come in the future, tizgal lebchinas malchus k'moi shehi mitzad atzma. It will reveal the power of Malchus as Malchus stands on her own. Shetekabel mo'orein soif atzmai. Malchus is going to be plugged in directly to the Ein Sof. She's not going to have to receive from the sun, from what's called HaKadosh Baruch Hu. She's going to be plugged in directly. The moon is going to receive its direct light from the Eibishter. It's not going to have to receive light from the sun reflecting the moon. Like it says, V'hoya oir halavana, koir hachama, sha'alavana ta'ir me'atzma. The moon will shine on its own, Kamoy hashemesh, like the sun. V'yaseidim is that. So now that's equal. That's equal. V'yaseidim is that. Sha'achakach afterwards, yizgale shoyrish ha'malchus. After Zah and Malchus are going to stand equal, him and her are going to be equal. The mashpia is not going to be higher than the makabel and superior to the makabel. The giver is not going to be higher than the receiver. Then it's going to move to the next stage. It's going to be revealed the source of the receiver is really higher than the source of the giver. Basically, put it this way. The Eibishter himself, essence of the Eibishter, is not the giver, neither the receiver. The Eibishter is. This, that there is a concept called HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He's the big God that's giving. That's already an expression of Eibishter. Eibishter's expression is as the giver and we are the receivers. And this whole relationship of we have nothing and HaKadosh Baruch Hu is our fill everything that we need and so on and so forth. Eventually, it will be revealed that the whole power of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that whole emanation of sphirot and attributes and so on and so forth, was only because what? Because eventually the Eibishter wanted the receiver to receive. That means that who is first in the mind of the essence? The receiver. We're deep. And for that, so who is really mashpia to who? The only reason why HaKadosh Baruch Hu got what HaKadosh Baruch Hu got is to pass it on to us. So it comes out that we're the real transmitters so the wife is the greater transmitter to her husband more than the husband is transmitting to her. So that's what he's saying. And afterwards, it's higher it's higher than the Zeir Anpin. Malchus is going to be higher than the Zeir Anpin. The woman is going to be the crown of her husband. The crown goes on top of the head. That's why you even have that in the Haftorah of Machor Chodesh. It says that later Dovid and Yonason, after they made the sign, he shot the arrows, the whole thing. It says so he got the guy, the young lad, to go away. Told him take the arrows and go. So he took, and they were alone in the field. It says they embraced and they cried. They cried together on each other's lap. They cried very much. But it says, Ad Dovid Higdil, that David cried much more than Yonason. But the words the Torah uses, the Pasuk uses, David Higdil. The deeper meaning is Yonason is the sun, David is the moon, and eventually they cry so much together until David rises Higdil. The Maila of David is even greater than Yonason. The latter Hey of the Yud Kei Vav Kei is greater than the Yud Kei Vav. The makabel becomes the mashpia. The whole thing turns over. Shor David l'mayla miyonis. And that's what we're learning it. The Maila of the Or Chayzer, the returning light. V'hine yidua is no. Shetchilas ha'aliyah de malchusi. Shehim is balteles mimitziyasa. V'nasis nekuda tachas yisay. The way Malchus has her aliyah is first she becomes obdat. This is the idea that the moon becomes smaller and smaller. This is the idea of Yipakit Meshavech. This is the idea of us shrinking our egos when we come to a point we realize we have nothing. We have no power at all, only from the Eibishter. We have a recognition that we have nothing on our own. And this makes her into a Keli. In other words, her first level is that she becomes what? Aware that she has no koyach on her own. Everything she receives from her husband. In our case, receive everything from God. Once we recognize we have nothing on our own, then our true essence is then revealed. And what happens? It's taka revealed that we do have. And we have everything on our own. From a point where we have nothing on our own, it's suddenly revealed that we have everything on our own. Why? How can we have everything on our own? Because we are Him. We are Him. That's where the whole mimer goes to in the end. Ultimately, who are we really? Not a recipient of Him, but we are Him. And once we are Him, then we don't have to receive from Him. Because just like He is, we are. Just like He is. Does the Eibishter have to receive from anybody? Does God? No. And if we are truly, after we have our total bittul, Yipakit Meshavecha, it reveals the true sherish of Malchus, that where is Malchus really rooted? In Atzmos itself, higher even than HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So in that point, we're no more recipients, because we are him. And therefore our existence is absolute, just like he is absolute. Because we are him. We are, now we never became, we always were. It was just that the way we were set up in the system of creation is that we were playing the role of a wife and a recipient, and he is the giver, and so on and so forth. And this relationship plays itself out over thousands of years. Through our avodah of bittul, it is uncovered and suddenly revealed how Yidden and the Eibishter are totally one, which means that what? That we are him, and he is us. And just like he doesn't have to receive from anybody to exist, we don't either have to receive from anybody, because this is transiently who we are. Yeah, that's what it is. So let's see. She becomes a keli to aliyahs that are higher. The adla aliyah until the aliyah to eshes chayil ateres baila. The woman of valor is the crown of her husband. This that we say that erev Chodesh, which is the idea of nullification, is order that we should stimulate a higher revelation from our husband. That's not the ultimate. That's only these days. Now, the Rebbe is giving that there's two definitions in erev Chodesh. There is the erev Chodesh of today, and there's the erev Chodesh of Mashiach. The erev Chodesh of today is that through our erev Chodesh, we can draw down a higher, we keep on bringing down higher revelations from the Mashpia to the Makabel, from Hashem to us. Avala Asad love it when Mashiach comes. Hamaila, the Yipakid Mashavecha, what's the Maila of being absent? Our absence enables us to uncover. When we nullify our existence, our external existence, it enables us to reveal who we are, not that now we're vessels to receive a higher light from him, but to uncover our true essence. And our true essence is what? We are him. And we are more him than even what's called HaKadosh Baruch Hu, which is more considered which is the lights that he emanates. We are the vessel. It's based on the idea that the vessels are higher than the lights in the Shoresh, because the whole intention is the keli, not the lights. The lights are here only to help the vessels refine themselves till. Now this, that the sun and the moon, now we learned the last piece here, are Zah and Malchus, who kemoisha shemesh v'yareach be'inyan asfiros. That's how it is regarding to the spheros, to the attributes. That ultimately, they have Zah and Malchus. I have to understand something. Malchus is not even a crumb. It's a tiny little crumb compared to the vast sky of Ze'er Anpin. We're talking about Zah, Malchus, to realize Malchus is tiny compared to the Ze'er Anpin. And yet, the root of Malchus is what? Higher than. That's the way it is in Ze'er Anpin and Malchus. But on a deeper level, the Rebbe says, Shemesh v'yareach hem HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It means the Eibishter, Shemesh Havaya. The Yisroel, Shadoimim Levana. And Yidden, Kemuvaliel, like explained earlier, but Chilas HaMayim Madrush. The Yipakid Mashavecha, the Dovid Levanu, who are bittul the Yisrael, is that the Jewish people have bittul, Valyadei Nasa v'nefkadeta, which brings us to v'nefkadeta. Shakadosh Baruch Hu nisker kiviyachal aleim u'poikedaisam. The Eibishter remembers us. Through our bittul, the Eibishter remembers us. The Yesh Loimar, we can say. The Kamoisha Yedei Yipakid Mashavecha, the Malchus. Just like when Malchus has bittul. Mizgala in Yona v'shorsha da ha-Malchus atzma. Eventually, it's not about what she can stimulate from him, but what she can reveal about herself. She'eino tzricha lekabel, so she doesn't have to receive any more mizah from the Ze'er Anpin Shemesh. V'yiseirim is even deeper. Shal Yedei, not only she doesn't have to receive anything, but she rises higher than him. Even higher than the Zeir Anpin. Al derech zeu b'negei liyapaket Moshevecha de Yisroel is when it's Yapaket Moshevecha of the Jewish people. Shal Yedeya Bittul de Yisroel. Hear this. This is the crazy words that you wouldn't hear anywhere else in the entire liturgy of Jewish writings. The entire, including everything that there is everywhere. Shal Yedeya Bittul de Yisroel, through the Bittul of the Jewish people. Mizgala in Yonam Shalamayla Manal is revealed this inyan. Number one, She Yisroel v'Kutshe Berichu Kulachad. Number one, that Yidden and the Eibishter are totally one. Shelachein einam tzrichim kiviyachol lekabel ma'akadosh baruch hu. They don't have to be a recipient to receive. Shareihem chad mamish. They are Him. That's what I'm saying. They are Him. The Yisayim is that. Even more than that. The kivan shalamaise yadecha tichsaif. Since the Eibishter longs for our work, He longs for our avoda. Hare Yisroel hem mashpiyim kiviyachol ba'akadosh baruch hu. Yidden are the ones. Eishes chai lateres ba'ila. We are mashpia in Him because He needs. He so much desires and longs for our avoda that He becomes dependent on us, even more than we become dependent on Him. See where the Rebbe has taken the Jewish people. Eishes chai lateres ba'ila. V'zev nifkadeta ki yepaket Moshevecha. The hagam she'inyan hazikaron, even though remembrance, hu ba'darge da'orein soif shekula kamekalach. Remember, we're now going back to the first question in the Maayon. If remembrance is in such a high level, in a place where everything is nothing, so how can we stimulate this through our bittul? Right? So he says like this: as long as we are something other than God, then everything we do is nothing. But what our bittul does is not that the bittul of something other is stimulating. The bittul allows the true essence of the Jewish neshama to be revealed. And what is that? That it is Him. So of course we can stimulate Him because we are Him. We don't have to stimulate Him even. It's the memic. The oirin seshkul afal pikena bittul de Yisroel yipagum shevecha mo'oirer bedar gezu. It evokes sheniyev and efkadeta. Ki zeh, this that we say. This that we say, that in order to be ma'orer, you have to have some kind of a chashivos. Is when the person who's doing the avodah, the one who's arousing, is an entity, is something other. But through the bittul of Yapakin, mizgale in Yana Ma'elyon the Yisroel. This reveals the true exaltedness of the Jewish people. Shehem chad im HaKadosh Baruch Hu. They are totally one with Him. Chad mamish. So, as long as we're operating within the system of being what? Of being an entity other than the Eibishter, you're right. There's nothing we can do. And even our bittul would not be able to do anything, because when nothing is batal, it doesn't, on this level, nothing, it's all meaningless, on the level of Ein Sof. But the Rebbe is saying what the bittul does is something else. It's revealing the shorish of Malchus itself. Not. And the shorish of Malchus itself is Him. So when we are Him, then of course it brings His memory. Because it's Hainu Hach, it's one entity. V'hinei nizbar le'el. So what's the conclusion? If you understand one word we're talking about tonight, is a sign you don't understand anything. That's my conclusion. Again, if you understood one word we learned tonight, it's a sign that we don't understand anything. This stuff is really wild stuff. And in the end, the Eibishter is dependent on Knesset Yisroel. Because we are Him. We explained earlier, but the Inyan of Machor Chodesh, what's the idea of tomorrow being Chodesh? Hamshachas Or Chodesh is a new light. The Yesh Lekasher Zeh, Masha Kosta B'Terushi Tzemach Tzedek, the Machor Chodesh Koya Lo Asad Lavai. Tzemach Tzedek says that Machor Chodesh is also referring to the Chidush that happens when Mashiach comes. Al derech Maimer Chazal, we find Machor means when Mashiach comes. Because Chazal say Machor lekabel schara. Machor is tomorrow. Ki la'asid lava yeh gilui or chodesh. When Mashiach will come, there'll taka be new light. Shaloi heyer gam koidem atzimtzum. Kabbalah usually says that what? Before God created the world, His powerful light didn't leave room for anything to exist. God was the only one in reality. Didn't leave space for anything. And Hashem had to retract His light. And then created the world. And then we bring back the light that was there before into creation through our Torah and mitzvahs. That's what Kabbalah says. Chassidus is saying, and the Rebbe is saying is no. Through our work now, when Mashiach will come, not only will we bring back the light that was there that didn't allow us to exist this way, but we actually bring out a new light that wasn't even present, meaning a deeper expression in God that wasn't even present before He even had to clear His light to move away His light. That's the idea. Or Chodesh. In other words, we bring out a whole new in the Eibishter. The Eibishter, people, especially in the from Jewish world, they're very, very afraid of such talk. Very afraid, because it makes the Eibishter sound as very weak. They get very scared of such talk. People from Jews the religious Jews get very, the non-religious have no problem with this, but the religious Jews, the more religious you are, the bigger your problem you have, because God becomes very weak if God needs anything or enjoys anything or gets impacted by anything. They like very much God being cold, unaffected. It's really interesting, by the way. But in any case, here the Rebbe is saying that it's such a chiddush. We're making the Eibishter be in touch with himself more than he was in touch with himself before he ever created. Or Chodesh, a new light that wasn't even shining. What does it mean? A new consciousness. Or means a revelation of himself. Like more than before the Tzimtzum. And that's going to cause a chiddush in everything. Yisroel shehem asidim l'schadish kamoisa. Yidden are going to be renewed. Torah chadasha mi'iti teitze. It's the same Torah, but a whole new Torah chadasha. It's a new Torah. Val yedei Yisroel v'Torah yichidish gam b'habriya. It's going to be a new world, even though it's the same world. Shemayim chadashim v'eretz chadash. A new Shemayim. Umamshich hakasav kein yamoid zarachem v'shimchem. Shegam la'asad lavai. Even when Mashiach comes, kishayeh shemayim v'eretz chadashim. It will be a new. Ye'oimed v'nikar ha'avoida de Yisrael achshav. In other words, you won't think that after the new lights when Mashiach comes, whatever we did now is not important. No. Then, even after such great new, it will still be appreciated, the avodah that we've done now. Shal yada nasa ha'chidish, because the work that we did in this pre-chidish world, in this old world, is what created the new world. Let's hear these words. This summarizes the entire Maayon. V'HaKadosh Baruch Hu yishtasha, in Yiddish, vetzich tchachkin. The Eibishter is going to delight in Yisroel with the Jewish people. The Eibishter is going to turn to everybody that God is going to meet. Now, what do you say about my son? What do you think? Is it impressive? Look what he's done. Tchachkin. What a word. Tchachkin. God is going to Shal yadam, because through them, nismala hakoisev atshuke shaloi lias leidira b'tachtayim. Through them was fulfilled his longing and his desire to have a dira, to have a home in this world. Yiratzon, let it be. Shebahadibur binyanim elu, that in speaking in these things, ubefrat b'Shabbos mevorchim hachodesh, especially in Shabbos mevorchim. V'yiseidim ezeh be'erev Rosh Chodesh, Machor Chodesh. Yamar v'yazares hagilui de Dovid Malka Mashiach. It should hurry up and bring about the revelation of Dovid Malka Mashiach, Dovid Melech Yisrael Chai v'Kayim. Yovai v'yigalenu, let him come and redeem us. V'yoylichenu kamimiyos la'artzenu, and lead us upright. Begula amitis v'ashlema, v'chol zeh ba'oifen de miyad, all this in a manner of miyad. Al derech moeded alavana shu kerega kememra, just like the birth of the moon happens in an instant. Miyad and nigola. I want to say, this one I'm going to bring it back to what I said all the way at the beginning today, that when you look at the Maayon, you see the Rebbe speaking about two levels of Yipaked Moshevecha. One level is Yipakid Moshevecha in order to stimulate a higher light in the Mashpia. The other level in Yipakid Moshevecha is to reveal the Makabal itself, who she really is, higher even than the Mashpia. So I was saying that's mamish the inyan of Rosh Chodesh Kislev. Rosh Chodesh Kislev is a big Chassidish yomtiv, and I mentioned earlier because the Lubavitcher Rebbe came back after his absence. He had his heart attack in 1977, and they thought mamish the Rebbe's heart attack was horrible. It was mamish, and it was a miracle that he survived. And then a month and a half later, Rosh Chodesh Kislev, the Rebbe walked. That's why today's in Chabad Chassidim considered a big yomtiv Rosh Chodesh Kislev. But that was the first gilui that the Rebbe spoke about. Is that the Rebbe came back, he was being megala more, he reveals more from all the previous Rabbeim, more than before. The ultimate Yipaked Moshevecha happened the second time. Then the Rebbe had the stroke and the Gimel Tammuz with Al Zachem, with the ultimate absence of the tzaddik in the world, at least to our eyes. And what's the kavana? That this time it's megala not the maila that it can draw down higher levels in the mashpia, but it's megala the shirish of Malchus itself. That takes a greater concealment. It also leaves us, the Jewish people, in a place where we don't have a mashpia. We need to uncover our strength from within ourselves, not from the mashpia. But ultimately, that's the highest thing, and that's megala. So there's nothing higher, on the one hand, from our absence that we have right now. But Mitzat Sheni, you have to realize that this absence is not an absence, it's an absence only so that we can really reveal who we are in this absence. And then our essence is revealed when Mashiach is revealed. Who Mashiach is that nekuda of the deepest truth of each and every one of us. And this time period that we're in right now is the era of Rosh Chodesh darkness. And that's why the Rebbe gave out this mimer 3 months before his stroke. On Rosh Chodesh Kislev, explaining 2 dargas in Yipaked Moshevecha. The way I see it is one of them is referring to the first absence, which he came back a month and a half later. And this one is already 28 years. But, nevertheless, it's not chas v'shalom a hefsek. It's a yipake. That's the seder. That's the seder b'negeya to Dovid HaMelech, to Malchus Beis Dovid, is that it has to have a hefsek and then a return. But this time the return is not going to be as the return as now bringing us more light from the previous Rabbeim, but in a manner of Eshes Chayil Ateres Baila, way above all tzaddikim and everything that was before, on levels that are beyond. Chayim. Yeah. The rest are the creation that benefit from all this great romance that there is between the Jewish people and God. We bring the ultimate blessing down, but there is something very deep about the Jewish people and God in the midst of the creation. It's, yes, nice and wonderful, and a lot of blessings for them. It's just not on the same level, because when a person gets married, chooses a wife. In college, he's in college, there's like 600 girls, and he chooses one, and that's the one that is his wife. Is he nice to everyone else? Yeah, but who's his wife? One. Is he entitled to choose one, or does he have to marry all 600? God chose a girl, and the girl is the Jewish people. We're uncomfortable with it because, that's the reality. Yeah. It's a little late now, but
Don't worry. So big deal. It's a Maayon. It's a spring.